Crusaders at the always tough to play Alfond Arena. Well, it's going to be a tough place for both teams to play here tonight. It's a whiteout, it's a sold-out crowd, and while there are lots of returning players on both sides, really it's about the rookies, and they're exciting to watch.
Absolutely, and for Maine, there are 13 new players on the roster this year, highlighted by Justin Poirier, who had about as good of a debut for the Black Bears as you could ask for. 3 goals, a hat trick in his debut up at a sold-out Alfond last weekend. He was named the Hockey East Co-Rookie of the Week. A really good score at the junior level, 51 goals in 23-24. He led the QMJHL in that category. On the other side for the Bobcats, as we go from one first year to another, it's Ethan Wittenbach, ECAC's Rookie of the Week this week. He has put up points in every single game that he's played so far this season, the 5th-round pick out of Calgary. Also a great score at the junior level, 51 points with Sioux Falls a season ago.
And a huge round of applause for Sergeant Dan Clark as we wrap up the national anthem here at the sold-out M&T Bank Arena. We've got a fantastic matchup coming your way. Phil Jubileo, Dan Ball with you on NESN. Albin Boya, the starting goaltender tonight for the 2-0 Maine Black Bears. Boya, second-team Hockey East, and was an All-American last season, a 1.83 goals against average a year ago. He has allowed just 1 goal in his first couple of starts of the season. He has been fantastic. He had the shutout in the Saturday game against the Holy Cross Crusaders last Saturday. Starting in front of him on defense, Frank Jurasevich, Brandon Holt, Sully Sholey, Owen Fowler, Charlie Russell. Matej Marinoff made his first start of the season against Notre Dame last Saturday. He backstopped them to a win. He's 1-0 on the season with a .920 save percentage for the junior from Nitra, Slovakia. And for the Bobcats on the blue line, it is going to be Will Gilson, the RPI transfer, and Elliot Gronwald. Marcus Vidicek up front with Andon Serbone and Jeremy Wilmer. And Dan Ball, you know a bit about Will Gilson. I talked to Rand Pecknold, and we'll have that interview for you folks after the first period. He's really impressed with him, and you got a chance to cover him at RPI.
Covered him for a season last year, Phil, and I'm glad you brought that up. He was really jumped on the scene for, at the time, Dave Smith and company. Got the chance to speak with him, too, in an interview. A great individual as well as a player. Calls to mind the Priskys and Metzes of the world with the offensive side of his game. He's been really important in the early going.
And we are underway here in Hampton, Connecticut. Your officials, C.J. Hannafin and Joe Carasone. They're the refs. Ryan Knapp and Stephen Drain are the linesmen. And it is Holt from center ice driving it in, as these are two of the fastest teams in college hockey. Jurasevich takes a hit from Serbone. And it's Elliot Gronwald, the Boston Bruins draft pick, giving it to Gilson, who wears number 3 for the Bobcats, ahead to the first-year Vidicek. Now to Andon Serbone, back to Vidicek in front, Wilmer! Oh, he was right there, but Boya got a piece as it's out of play.
Well, the Bobcats were looking to strike early, Phil, and get this crowd right into it from the early going. 33 seconds in. This pass wasn't originally intended for Jeremy Wilmer, but it gets their watch. Backhand pass, it's deflected quickly through the legs onto Wilmer's take by Vidicek. That's a great individual effort by Vidicek, crashing to the middle to get a piece of that puck instead of Wilmer, but it just goes a bit high. Marcus
Vidicek had a goal and an assist against Notre Dame. He's going to be one of the big faces to watch out of that first-year group. From Montreal, Quebec, played for Moncton in the Quebec Maritime Junior League last year. 64 points in 64 games. Meanwhile, Graham Sword, who played in the ECHL, yes, the East Coast Hockey League, last season for the Norfolk Admirals, 47 games, but was eligible to play in college hockey. Lots of stuff going on with the rules, especially with the influx of the major junior kids this season. So Graham Swart is a Bobcat. He is on the first pair with Charlie Letty, a New Jersey Devils draft pick. Meanwhile, in front, Pelosi able to knock that by Bodie Nobes, the junior, as Graham Swars sends it up the boards. Meanwhile, Swars is also a big boy. He is 6'4", just under 200 pounds, from Abbotsford, British Columbia.
Yeah, he's quite the presence, playing in his second game paired with Charlie Letty now, and no better example of the changing times in college hockey, Phil, than number 15 in gold tonight.
Jaden Lipinski having a big start to his first season in college hockey, worked it behind the net, trying to get to it along the half boards, flipped out to center, and Peterson with it along the right side, the seventh defenseman tonight for Ben Barr's Maine Black Bears. And the thing with Maine is, while they played well last week, it was against an Atlantic hockey opponent. And granted, while Holy Cross is good, not necessarily the same as what the Bobcats have had to face, especially opening up the season on the road, beating Boston College. And now a turnover, poor pass leads to a chance, backhand shot, and they score! Going to the net all by himself is Will Giroux. Giroux with the goal, and it's 1-0 Maine.
Well, this turnover happens at the Bobcats' defensive blue line, and a great move there to fake. You can see Marinov bites on that forehand shot there from Giroux before he takes the puck to the backhand and scores. It's a turnover that leads to a 1-on-0, and when you turn it over when the forward's right even with you, there's no way you're going to be able to generate enough speed as a defender to get back and defend that. Maine strikes first.
Well, Giroux had a career-high 30 goals in the Ontario League last year for Ottawa, where he spent his entire junior hockey career, so he capitalizes off of the turnover. Maine gets the early 1-0 lead as it's lobbed in onto Matej Marinov, who, unfortunately for him, was left all by himself to try to make that stop. Just a great move by Giroux.
Yeah, not the way that you want to be welcomed into a game with this kind of magnitude behind it, Phil, and it kind of draws into focus the chance for the Bobcats in Wilmer at the 33-second mark of the first. Instead of that goal giving you a lead and changing the energy a bit, now Maine is up first, and you go back the last 2 years, or this year and last, they're 16-0 when leading after one.
Face off to the right of Matej Marinov from the circle. Now it's played by Charlie Russell, the Clarkson transfer. Wasn't there very long, handful of games before going back into junior hockey in the USHL. Second season with the Black Bears, as it is played in the corner and flipped out to center ice. Tracked down by Frank Jurasevich. Now over to Holt. Back around to Jurasevich, the top pair defense out there. Poked away at the line by Wilmer, who was on a line up front with Vidicek along with Andon Serbone, who was still looking for his first point of the season. Not for a lack of trying. 14 shots on goal to lead the Bobcats as it's iced by Quinnipiac with 3:03 gone by here in the first period. And there is Ben Barr. And I want to talk about a renaissance of the Maine Black Bears hockey program. It really starts with his recruiting and his coaching.
It certainly does, and he was the recruiting coordinator at UMass in Hockey East before he was hired to be the head coach at Maine, and he has ushered in a new era of dominance in Maine. It's been highlighted by some improvements that they've made at Alfond Arena. You can see that the fans are really engaged, and he was tasked with kind of redoing this roster in the offseason, Phil. 13 new players for the Black Bears. You got 11 new players for the Bobcats as the landscape in college hockey changes. But we'll talk more about his pregame comments, because he had one of the more honest answers to a question about his team than I've heard in quite a while.
They won their first Hockey East tournament in 20 years when they defeated UConn in the championship game last season to get to the NCAA tournament. Now here come the Bobcats off a face-off win. Jeremy Wilmer through center and across the line. He gets tied up along the boards, the Long Island native and BU transfer. Now Will Gilson likes to pinch offensively. Back to the half boards. Pelosi there. Gilson in the corner. The Bobcats looking to return fire. A pass in front. And Wilmer had a second great look in this first period. Shot went wide. And now Gronwald's shot is off the stick and out of play. Josh Nadeau was right in his grill, and we get a stoppage with 16:29 left in the first period.
Well, it's a compliment, Phil, to the defensive game and growth of Elliot Gronwald here in his second season with the Bobcats, that he's the one who was chosen to be paired with Will Gilson, who you mentioned can kind of serve as a fourth forward out there for certain shifts. But Gronwald, he's the defensive defender. He's tasked with staying there on the point and making sure somebody is covering, and he did that extremely well there as Gilson was up in the rush.
Gronwald, a big physical body, loves to play the body. He developed a little bit offensively last season. I know the Bruins, he's a Boston draft pick, really like him, was in their rookie camp. Meanwhile, nearly turned over to Marcellus as Thomas Friel sends it rink wide, the captain of this Maine team. And then Bodie Nobes got laid out on a hit along the wall, and that gets the fans into it. Here comes Pelosi. Tried to get it through Marcus. Nashville Predators draft pick on this team, one of a handful of first-year players, 4 of them all NHL draft picks on this Maine squad, all played major junior hockey. Here come the Cats. Through center, Aaron Schwartz. Schwartz dangling. Schwartz to the backhand, threaded it in front, could not get it back onto the forehand for a shot. And now Graham Sword lobs it in with 15:40 left in this first period. A 1-0 Maine on top. By the way, the Quinnipiac student section getting the memo. They are all standing on their feet. There were some social media posts calling out the student section, wanting them to stand up, and that they are. And from the left point, there's a chance from Holton, caught by Marinoff as he hangs on.
Well, it is, Phil, part of Bobcat Weekend this weekend, so nice to see current students and former students alike here this weekend. Was messaging back and forth with some Bobcats classmates who are here in the stands this weekend. Great to see the kind of crowd that was brought out as you get classes from all over, from current and former, that are joining us here this weekend.
Line change for the Bobcats. Chernetsky in there, the captain, along with Borgula, who slots back into the lineup. Antonin Verreau is one of the exciting first-year players on this team. Gronwald and Braden Blaise, who is played in every game this season. Puck is iced once again by Quinnipiac as Jurasevich back to get there with 15:15 left in this first period. A 1-0 lead on the unassisted goal by Gerrois. 5'10" freshman from Nova Scotia, and the fourth line of Maine contributing the game's first goal, although Oscar Komarov and Thomas Pichette also have contributed goals from the fourth line. So this is a deep Ben-Bar squad, and you'll see them roll 4 lines all evening long if they're having the upper hand. Meanwhile, as Gerrois again cutting toward the net, it's loose, and Verreau came back for it. Big scramble by the net mouth, and Marinoff is able to smother it.
Well, there was a little bit of incidental contact there as Gerrois had the puck on his backhand, was leading it towards the net, and Marinov. And that little bit of contact knocked the puck loose and knocked him off balance to the point where a couple moments later, he sprawled down looking for that puck, but a good net mouth scramble, well defended by the goaltender of the Bobcats, but Maine continuing to apply some pressure. They have the first 4 shots in this game so far through nearly 5 minutes.
Vidicek, the native of Montreal, to take the draw. Tied up with Sully Sholey, who's from Chaska, Minnesota, same hometown as former Quinnipiac captain Odin Tufto, both Chaska natives. Russell hit hard by Swardle on the wall, in behind the goal. And now Sword there for the Bobcats as he lobs that one out of harm's way. Peterson will glove it down. Rink wide pass stolen. Serbone drops it off. Vidicek over to Wilmer, finding an open spot. Good back check, but now Gilson waiting. In front, they jam away at it. It's loose, top of the crease. Bodies all over Alvin Boya, and it's kept out of the net as we get a stoppage. Boya lost his bucket, and there's Rand Pecknold in his 32nd season as the head coach of this Quinnipiac Bobcats team. It's hard to imagine doing anything for more than half of your life, but here we are with Rand Pecknold. You know, he just keeps getting better every year with this program.
And continues to adapt the program to whatever the landscape in college hockey looks like. Got through COVID, still had a strong program, ends up winning a national championship, and then has really jumped on, as have a lot of top programs in college hockey, the addition of CHL players, and in this case, ECHL players. So whatever the curve is there for building a strong program in Hampton, that's what Rand Pecknold continues to do.
6 consecutive years to the NCAA tournament, longest streak in college hockey. Here come the Cats. Schwartz has Pelosi, now waits for the trailing Marcellus. The shot was blocked. Nicely done by Jurasevich. Marcellus, the junior from Greeley, Ontario, behind the net to the Florida native Schwartz. And now moving his feet is Mason Marcellus, and Letty had trouble holding it in at the line. The Bobcats have to touch up, and that allows Jurasevich to reset for the Black Bears, who hold a 1-0 lead. Jurasevich, the 6'2 junior from New Rochelle, New York. Meanwhile, hit along the boards. was Josh Nadeau, who came over a couple of years ago with his brother Bradley, a first-round pick of the Carolina Hurricanes. We have a Carolina Hurricanes note for you in a moment. Meanwhile, as the puck back in the Maine zone, Chernesky and Air coming after it. Oh, bodies falling everywhere. Chernesky and Air somehow came away with the puck, but taken back by Friel. And now along the left side, it is skated in along the boards. Centering pass broken up. Here comes Tyler Borgula. Kicks it over to Gronwald. Looking up ice. A trio of Maine sweaters. The pass got to Verreau, but he couldn't handle it. And now the Black Bears ice it the other way. Brady Schultz, one of a handful of Connecticut natives, with that icing touch-up.
So a few moments ago, there was a net mouth scramble that I wanted to take another look at. It started with Jeremy Wilmer getting the puck down to Will Gilson in the corner, and you could see how close that puck goes, but a really nice left leg save there by Boya. He made the first save, then there was all sorts of chaos as Wilmer was right there looking for a rebound. The whistle comes when the helmet gets knocked off, but it was a heads-up play there by Gilson from that near side corner. Again, Phil, in on the rush, playing the role of the winger on that particular shift, getting that puck in front, and the Bobcats nearly cashed in.
Left point, Brady Schultz. Traffic loose in front. Backhand try. That one just going wide off the stick of Matthew Lansing. One of the first years in this lineup. Lansing, the Tonawanda, New York native. That's upstate near Buffalo. Here come the Bobcats. Schultz off the body of Wittenbach. The dynamic first year comes to it. Around for Anthony Cipollone, the senior from Purchase. Now along the half boards, it's Lansing. Cipollone digging in. 2-on-2 battle. Lansing tries to work it back towards the line. And now reclaimed as it's out to center. Langlois. Pass comes up the middle. There's a chance by Komarov. Second effort. Hit hard, but good save is made. Back out to center ice. It's Gilson, and he'll play it ahead. Jurasevich turns it back the other way. Here's Langlois again. Pass in front. Oh, and Gerrois looking for his second. Tried to feint on a chance. It was played by the netminder Marinoff. Meanwhile, Holt knocks it in while the Black Bears are offside, and Maine will make a quick line change, up 1-0 with 8 minutes gone.
That was a sneaky play there by Gerrois. He faked that slap shot, as you mentioned, and then it looked like he was trying to slip the puck between the 5-hole. If you caught Marinov moving, it might have opened up just enough, but would not go.
Serbone looking in front. Wilmer cutting to the net. He couldn't get his stick on it, and Boya smothers it after Wilmer dumped down at the end of the play, and we get a stoppage with 11:47 left to go. First period, a 1-0 lead for Maine as we take a look at that last sequence.
Well, it starts in the neutral zone with a pass that ends up in the skates of the Black Bears, and you can see that it's Wilmer who's has the jump on both defenders for the Black Bears. He goes in and just a little hey, how are you snow shower there from Jeremy Wilmer up into the eyes of Boya, and of course both defenders weren't big fans of that, but you could see the line mates there on that top line. Vidicek and Serbone come in and defend Wilmer. That's the one line, Phil, on offense that stayed together for all 3 games so far this season for the Bobcats. So a little bit of chemistry building there, and Wilmer is always around the puck.
Blaise and Sword on the blue line with Vidicek, Serbone, and Wilmer. Bobcats win the draw. Serbone, quick shot, and Boya, that one snuck up on him. He made the save, but had a little bit of trouble as it's backhanded down the wall, but taken away by Josh Nadeau. Shot it into the Bobcat zone. Sword cleared it out. Loose. Taken off the skate of Nadeau as it knuckles back to Graham Sword. From Abbotsford, British Columbia. Blaise ahead. Vidicek deflecting in. That goes into the netting. That gives me a moment. We mentioned earlier Bradley Nadeau, the former Maine Black Bear, a draft pick of Carolina. Well, speaking of Carolina draft picks, Charles Alexis Legault, who was a Bobcat, a Carolina draft pick, just got called up to the NHL. He's going to make his NHL debut. Also recently called up former captain Zach Metza by the Buffalo Sabres, and Buffalo plays tomorrow. Hopefully he slots in to make his NHL debut as well.
Red letter season for Metza overall. Was named captain of the Rochester Americans before being called up. You could tell they were pretty high on him with that kind of honor, but great week for the Bobcats indeed.
Chipped out to the point. Letty is there. Adam Marcellus tries to circle around Bodie Nobes, makes a nice move, cuts in front to the net. He had Pelosi. The pass just out of his long reach, and now Schwartz with it at center ice. Off Marcellus, turned the other way by Langlois, and Gronwald back and icing here with 10:52 left in this first period on Bobcat weekend, a packed house. These two teams will play tomorrow night as well. Rich Capola and I will have that broadcast for you on ESPN Plus. Before that, though, Dan and I will be back at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, as it is the Bobcats and Northeastern at 1, and then the Bobcats and Maine, the men's game, at 4 o'clock. Nobes clears it. Here's Sword. Sent up the middle. Off a row. And now back over to Will Gilson. Gilson to Borgula. Off of him. Out of the crease is Boya. Taps it ahead for Nobes. Borgula lifting his stick. Took it away. Here comes Tyler Borgula, the sophomore. Throws it in front from an odd angle. Save made by Boya. Back out. Here's Varro firing. Another stop by Albin Boya. And you can see why this Maine team is so hard to beat with that great goaltending.
Absolutely, because you could see that Chernetsky and Ayer had the body position in front of Boya, but he was still able to see that like nothing was going on there in front of him. Tremendous save.
Will Gilson back in the Bobcat zone, nearing the halfway mark of this first period. And it's Sword. The big left-handed shot out to center. Lansing trying to get around the body of Oscar Komarov, and now chip back out to center ice. Working along the left wing, it's Owen Fowler. Met there in the corner by Letty. Gronwald gets it around. Big hit in behind the net. Anthony Cipollone on the tape for Letty. He gets it back from Wittenbach, then got tripped up, no call. As it is Lansing battling, flipped out to center ice by Fowler. Gronwald knifes that into the Black Bears bench, and we get a stoppage in play. 9:33 to go in the first here on Nesson. It's 1-0 Maine. Well, Bobcat Challenge is here starting on Tuesday. Tuesday and Wednesday is Bobcat Challenge. It is the big fall fundraising effort here at Quinnipiac for the athletic department. You can see the website to learn more, qu.edu/Bobcat Challenge 2025. Greg Amodio and I spoke earlier today during the first intermission of the women's game about how important Bobcat Challenge is to raise funds for all of the things with the athletic programs. And like he said, and it makes a lot of sense. You know, 4 or 5 years ago, you'd make all these same trips. They're just now way more expensive. So the goals keep getting higher and higher because, quite frankly, you need that.
And that's the beauty of a challenge like that, Phil, too. And the QR code is on the screen if you'd like to scan in and donate. And if you don't know how to operate a QR code, ask the college kid in your room. But I would say, Phil, it manifests itself in ways that a lot of fans may not see. There's a lot of upkeep behind the scenes, especially with hockey, with keeping the ice cold, with all the equipment you have to have. So the amount of ways that you can impact Bobcats athletics across the board, it's really hard to quantify. So if you have a few dollars, everyone would certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, no amount is too little. So whatever you can donate, you know, it's so great. You just Venmo it, I think, whatever, the QR code. I'm sure there's lots of ways to make those donations to make it easy for you. So do that now. Take a minute. Go right ahead.
I could give you my personal Venmo, and I can pass it along, too. We can try that. I'm sure that's above board.
Is it? I'm not vouching for that. I need an approval from the athletic department before we go there.
Fair enough.
So here comes Wilmer. Now over to Vidicek and ahead to Andon Serbone, the junior, as it's played in behind the net. Holt is there for Maine. Looking for Jurasevich. A little out of his reach, allowing Vidicek to come in and pester. 9-10 and counting. Left to play in this first period. A fast pace. Shots are even at 7 each. Down low. Tripped up was Wilmer. He draws a penalty. Jeremy Wilmer's been really active offensively, especially below the dots. And the Bobcats, who have struggled a bit on the power play to start the season, despite being one of the best in the nation last year, will get their first man advantage.
Well, with the amount of roster turnover that the Bobcats had, Phil, you can understand why they're finding a little bit of chemistry on the man advantage, but Wilmer certainly is always around the puck. 3 points in 3 games this season, 112 in his 116 games that he's played between Boston University and Quinnipiac. So he's going to continue to be an offensive catalyst. You'll see him on the near side in the slot on this faceoff as the Bobcats begin their power play.
Wilmer is second in points amongst active NCAA college Division I players. He's out there with Serbone, Marcellus, Schwartz, and Gilson. Gilson, the lone defenseman in this first power play unit. Wilmer tried to poke that back away. Good work around for Thomas Friel, and the Maine captain able to fire it 200 feet down. So the Bobcats have to start in their zone. Max Scott, the former standout at Brown, who transferred to Maine after last season, flashing in on the penalty kill. He's up front with Friel, joined by Motu and Holt on the back part of that penalty kill. Maine on their PK, well, they're 8 for 8 this season. Doesn't get any better than 100%. Still early in the year. Schwartz, half boards to the point. Gilson there, moves it back. Marcellus now to Gilson, straight on. Schwartz looking in front. Good leg block by Holt. Shoveled, but not farther than the half wall. Serbone looks to poke that back. He's getting pressured by Max Scott. Those two have battled each other over the years, with Scott playing previously at Brown. And a good clear by Maine as the Bobcats will start back in their own zone with a new power play unit.
A season ago, Phil, the penalty kill also top 15 in the nation for the Black Bears. And when you have a goaltender at the caliber of Albin Boya, you can understand, because your goaltender often has to be your best penalty killer.
Well, the Bobcats had too many men on the ice. I counted 6 skaters and a goalie.
And the jerseys are bright yellow, so they're kind of hard to hide out there.
It really is, and unfortunately for Quinnipiac, their power play ends 57 seconds early. 11:58 time of the call. We'll see 4-on-4 hockey for the first time, as it will be Matt McGroarty, the junior, serving the penalty for the Bobcats. He's the extra forward. The guy last year didn't get as many games. He was in and out of the lineup with injuries, but the Bobcat they call Chatty serves this one. Face-off will be to the right of Marinoff. The 4-man unit has Chernesky in there, Pelosi, Sword, and rounding out the group is Charlie Letty, who controls off the face-off win. Gerwa flashing in on that 4-man forecheck with Fowler up front for Maine, along with Holt, and rounding out the group is Brandon Chabrier, who had an overtime game winner a couple of years ago here. Pelosi came across the line, coughed it up. Chabrier thought about passing along, now leaves it behind. Owen Fowler in across, keeps it along the boards. Letty coming after. 30 seconds left in the 4-on-4 with Frank Jurasevich serving the penalty. Quinnipiac on the breakout, a set play. Swart thought about throwing it. Now Fowler's going to come off because he has a spare moment to change. And Swars looking up ice. Braden Blaze tapped over. Here's Serbone going downhill, looking short side. And boy, you got a piece of it for the save. Good work, Nadeau. Slowed up a bit by Serbone. Blaze looking and finding Marcellus. Had a little bit of trouble. Corrals it along the boards before taking the hit by Langlois. And now it's a power play for Maine. Maine on the power play, 2 for 10 this season. That is 20% and 20th in the country. And the Bobcats, their penalty kills not been great. But again, early in the year, they've allowed 4 power play goals already. They are just 6 of 10. So they are 47th in the country, but I think it's still way too early to think about those things.
And that's the thing. Same kind of concept with the power play, Phil. I'll use the umbrella term of your special teams in general. That does come with time, as you get pairings you can trust, and you get those 2 forward pairings out on the ice that you know you can trust working off of each other well.
Nadeau with a wrist shot. Oh, and it trickled just wide on the rebound. Yet Thomas Friel at the top of the crease. Now Holt racing in. To the left, Poirier shooting, sliding, blocked by Gronwald, and Braden Blaze will snap it out with 10 seconds left in the bench minor.
Gronwald is going to hobble his way back to the bench, but the fans certainly appreciated that one. That was a point-blank opportunity after good puck movement there by the Black Bears that did not end up getting through.
Both teams are now 0 for 1 in the power play. Jurasevich will drive it in. As it comes around, loose puck, Wittenbach tracks it down. Here comes the rookie. Wittenbach waiting, looking for Wilmer, and he's cut off by Oscar Komarov, and then lifts his stick and takes it away. Wittenbach, Sword a shot, blocked in front. Good save by Boya, as Sword right back with it as he drives that puck in, but right to Jurasevich with 5:35 to go in the opening period. 1-0 Maine, the turnover leading to a Will Gerrois goal. Just 2 minutes and 9 seconds unassisted, and that is the only goal this evening thus far. Pass up the middle is Wittenbach, number 19, deflecting it in. Met by Chabrier in the corner. Coming over is Antonin Verreau. He gets slowed up a bit by Motu, tied up as it's taken away. Here come the Black Bears through center, flipped in by Charlie Russell as Sully Scholey ends up offside, and it will come out with 5:08 left in the first period.
What a find Frank Jurasevich has ended up being for Ben Barr and company in Maine. Phil, coming from Merrimack, transfers in He had the first 25-plus point season for a Black Bear since Ben Hutton did it just over a decade ago, and Hutton has put together a pretty nice professional career to his credit. So he's a guy that's able to play in all areas of the game, and he was strong there defending against Wittenbach, was able to disrupt him just enough to disrupt that pass headed towards Wilmer.
Scholey and Chernesky and Air will face off to the right of Boya. Maine wins the draw and banks it out through center. Maine has won 13 face-offs to just 5 for the Bobcats. Normally an area where they're very strong. They're pretty close in terms of NCAA rankings coming into the game tonight as Borgula lifts it ahead for Gilson. Takes the wobbling puck. He flips it in with under 5 minutes to go here in the first. Gilson waiting at the blue line. He got cut off. Gloved down by Scholey. A 2-on-2. He's got Russell to his right. Russell moving to the left. Scholey spun off the boards. Gilson comes in to help. And now Chernesky in there. Gathers the puck back in the corner. It bounces for Schultz. And over now, long pass ahead, Borgula. He missed a little bit of time on that road trip. It is cut off by Russell. Shot in. And kept in the zone by Friel. Blocked by Gilson on the attempt. Centering feed. Nice back check as it is taken away. And here come the Bobcats led by Borgula. In across as Boya plays it behind the net. Footsteps coming from Vidicek. Head of the point. Place with a shot and a 6-save made. Stopped by Boya. Oh, nice pass through the legs. Serbone a chance on the gorgeous feed by Wilmer. Thrown back in front. And somehow Serbone couldn't finish.
I like that heads-up play there by Wilmer a lot there, Phil. Trying to go right to that back post before Boya could move, but no connection made.
Meanwhile, played off the near boards by Vidicek. Off of Serbone. Gathered by Sabrier. And across to the left wing side, it's marched in by Motu, the St. Francis Xavier transfer. That's in U Sport, so in Canada, not a school most in the States have heard of on a regular basis. As there's the shot that comes in. Save made. Motu dangling in behind the net for Scott, looking in front for Poirier. And there's a chance from Brandon Poirier as that one came in a little high. Back at the point for Motu. Now to Nadeau. Fires it wide through traffic. Maine is buzzing here with 3:10 to go in this first period. Puck possession so huge as far as who's going to control this game. And now the Black Bears are whistled for a hand pass.
Shots in the early going 11-7 in favor of the Bobcats. Shot attempts also 17-10, but I would say that those numbers don't really reflect what we've seen so far, Phil, in terms of flow of game. I think it's been pretty even throughout. Both teams are really trying to pick up the pace through the neutral zone and catch the opposing defense off guard, but so far it's been a pretty solid goaltending effort on both sides, and Albin Boya, once again, has not been solved.
11 first period saves for Boya. Charlie Leddy fires in. It always feels that way between these two teams. Tight contest, often one-goal games between the Bobcats and Maine. They split a couple of games. The last time the teams played here a couple of years ago. As we take a look at the series history real quickly between the Bobcats and the Black Bears. Maine has a 12-9-1 edge in the series. As last year it was a 2-1 win and a 6-5 overtime win for the Black Bears against the Bobcats. And what was a really tough October for Quinnipiac to start the season? There's Lansing, a shot off the face-off win. It goes into the netting. And that rough October for the Bobcats, Dan, really forced things for Quinnipiac later in the season to kind of battle their way to get into a spot to earn an at-large bid for the tournament.
And to their credit, they were able to do it despite, as you were saying, staying 500 or below until the middle of November, which is something this program doesn't usually do. But from November through January 17th, 11-2-1 record to claw right back into the fight. So first half and second half for the Bobcats, very, very different stories.
And the challenge with this group is there are so many new faces that while there is immense talent, learning that chemistry is something that's going to take a little bit of time. As Sword looking in front for Lansing, the pass broken up by Langlois as Gilson off a high stick, but Thomas Pichette takes it, backhands it off the side of the goal. He got it back in front, quick shot, they score. Owen Fowler from between the circles makes it 2-0 Maine.
Well, Fowler, the trailing forward on the third line for the Black Bears, was able to take advantage of the Bobcats as their defense gets caught puck watching. You can see all 5 players for the Bobcats were either at the net or towards the near side boards, allowing for the winger to sneak in unmarked and get a clear shot up and over the glove of Marinov. So a really well-placed shot there by Fowler, but the Bobcats caught puck watching a little bit towards the near side of the corner, opening up the offensive zone for the Black Bears to get goal number 2.
Fowler, the UMass Lowell transfer, picks up his first of the season, his 16th career goal on a good pass from the fourth liner Thomas Pichette, a sophomore who's having a fine year, averaging over a point a game already. So that takes the wind out of the Bobcats, at least at this stage of the first period, and now they're whistled for icing in that raucous student section has gotten a bit quiet here in the last few seconds.
I think the next 2 minutes for the Bobcats are really big, Phil, as Ben Barr mentioned pregame that the first 5 minutes for his group were going to be huge. They were able to solve Marinov and the Bobcats early, but I think you got to give this group of fans that came out to support on Bobcat Weekend a little something to cheer for and build some momentum if you plan on coming back in this game.
By the way, I want to say hi, Noah Altman, the former Bobcat goaltender, fan favorite, watching the game tonight, now working at ESPN.
And brief broadcaster extraordinaire, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and a fantastic job by him getting his broadcast career started after college. Meanwhile, here comes Antonin Verreau, backhand shot deflected wide. Verreau trying to get back to it. Holt is there, whips it around. Letty contains it at the line. 90 seconds to go in the period. The Bobcats down a couple. Chernesky in air as it comes back around to Borgula. He waits in front for Chernesky in air, just half a step late. Now Schultz fires it, dropped in front by Chernesky in air. He was looking for Borgula. The pass never got there. And now Lipinski coming down the right side. A shot, save, rebound, they score. Poirier was denied on the first attempt, but the puck was left there, and Miguel Marcus picks up a goal. The Nashville draft pick. It's now 3-0 Black Bears.
This was a tremendous play in transition by the Black Bears and a great shot to set up a rebound that ends up being the third goal of this first period. Watch the quick transition. The drop pass there by Lipinski. Poirier gets that first shot, but he's shooting specifically for that rebound. Not necessarily going to pick a corner, but rather set up his winger in order to get that rebound shot through, and it's 3-0 Black Bears, just like that.
So the Black Bears in their first road game of the season have come out firing on all cylinders as they get whistled for icing, and that is an all first-year line that contributed to the goal. A little bit of a mixed bag because Lipinski and Marcus do play with each other, but Justin Poirier, the Carolina Hurricanes draft pick, who missed the last year and a half with a knee injury. He had not played since the 23-24 season, but comes out, gets a hat trick in his first college hockey game, and had an assist Saturday, gets one here tonight. Meanwhile, final minute of this first period, the Bobcats, well, we thought they were going to get it going quickly. Wilmer had a great chance inside the first minute, draws another penalty. The Bobcats are going to go back on the power play. To the bench is the netminder, and now an extra attacker out there, but touched up after Marinov got to the bench. 40.7 seconds left, and maybe a chance here for the Bobcats to battle back and at least get one ahead of the intermission.
Phil, worth mentioning 3 goals for the Black Bears here in this first period. That's a feat they only did once last year, and it came also against Quinnipiac, that second game October 19th, and a game that they ended up winning 6-5 in overtime.
Now the Bobcats wouldn't complain about getting that opportunity to bounce back in a game like this. That was a wild one, if I recall, and I do recall watching that on ESPN Plus with the great Jeff Mannix on the play-by-play. The face-off will be to the right of Boya. Second power play try for the Bobcats, who are now 1 for 14 on the man advantage this season. And now a short-handed chance here in the final minute. Racing down is Fowler. Good stick lift by Gilson. That slows him up. And now Quinnipiac with it deep in their own zone as Gilson with 20 seconds to go. The Cats will have power play time if they don't score here to begin the second. Marcellus in across the line, dropped it back, mistimed pass. Now Charlie Russell hustles after it. Russell lost it, and Gilson able to get back and recover. And the net knocked off its moorings with 7.9 to go. It'll take the faceoff back the other way here with 33 seconds gone in the Max Scott penalty.
Was wondering there, Phil, if Russell might try to go a little bit wider with that puck to try to get a little bit of daylight between him and Will Gilson, but you see the speed of the Bobcats transfer defender able to at least make it difficult to try to get a shot on goal. But so far, 2 pretty solid looks from the Black Bears as they've tried to create transition shorthanded with now under 8 seconds to go.
Maine shoots it in, under 5 to play. Marinoff leaves it behind. Ramsward there, the horn sounds. 20 minutes are in the books. It's been all Maine, and thanks to turnovers, they were able to convert 3 in the first period. Gerrois, along with Fowler and Marcus, all lighting the lamp in the opening 20. The Black Bears, number 7 in the country, have a 3-0 lead over the Bobcats, who will look to turn things around in the middle 20. But when we come back here on Nesson, Rand Pecknell joins us. You're watching Quinnipiac Hockey on Nesson. Welcome back here on Nesson in between periods. Phil Jubileo with you, and we're joined for the first time this season. It's the home opener, the Bobcats hosting Maine, and Rand Pecknell joins his coach on the road to start off the season, 2-1 thus far, coming off a really good win against Notre Dame up in Arizona at their icebreaker, Arizona State's icebreaker. Wanted to get your just quick thoughts, right? There's a big group of new players on this team, and the college hockey landscape really has changed a lot with the major junior players coming in, others as well. And the one thing I've noticed, and maybe you have as well, early in the season, very unpredictable. And there's a lot more parity, I think, because of just this influx of talent coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, every October there's a lot of upsets. It just happened to be more this year, but there's always a lot of upsets in October. You got a lot of new players trying to get them acclimated to your systems, not just Quinnipiac, but wherever your team is. And that was kind of our issue with Alaska. We weren't all in on how we need to play to win. And as we discussed earlier, like we heavily outchanced them. Should have won the game, but that's hockey. That's why you play. We just didn't finish our chances. We had some kids that were flat a little bit. Lacked emotion, not all of our guys, but a few, and that hurt. But it was a great reload for Saturday. I thought we played great against Notre Dame, really good Notre Dame team with a ton of draft picks, and that was a nice 7-2 win against them.
When you look at this season's team versus last, same goaltending group with Sylvie and Matej Marinoff, and then you look at some of the veteran scoring that has come back, but a lot of newcomers in this lineup, and some of them come in with some pedigree behind them, whether you're talking about like an Ethan Wittenbach or a Lansing, the couple of drafted kids and some others. What are some of the things to expect out of this new group? Because they're getting a lot of playing time, and it looks like they're making an immediate impact.
Yeah, it's an excellent freshman class. It's a little early to kind of gauge where they fit, over the last 15, 20 years, but it's definitely, we're really excited about it. It's a really good class. A lot of talent, a lot of depth in that class, and a lot of high character kids. And then we added Will Gilson too, the transfer from RPI. He's been very good early, and I think he's only going to get better as he continues to kind of adapt to how we play and kind of adapt to how we train. And but I've been really happy with him. But it's a good new group, and certainly. And then we've also got some good returners that have played well so far too.
Victor Chernetsky there, the captain for this team, someone who's been around since day one, the last regular player, who played just about every game in that championship season for you. What does he bring as far as leadership goes and mentoring this big young group of players?
Yeah, I mean, high character, high compete. Very happy with Vic. He's been great as a captain, and we expect him to continue to do that. And he's gotten really good on the faceoffs and the penalty kill. He understands our identity. He plays to it, and he's been great so far. I thought last year as a junior, him and Ricketts were two of our most important players. Once they got it going in the second half, like we just matched them against every other team's best line, and they handled that matchup so well, which freed our other guys up to kind of go out and make plays.
And real quick, just a look at Maine this weekend. It's always a tough matchup between the Bobcats and Maine when they face off, preseason or early in the season on conference play.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're ranked 7 right now, but to me, it's a top 5 team. It's they've got a legitimate chance to go to the Frozen Four and win a national championship. They've got one of the best goaltenders in the nation, and their backup's excellent too. They got 2 great goalies. I don't know who we'll see this weekend, but they're both great, and a lot of really high-end players, and they did a nice job with their freshman class too. So it's going to be a battle. They compete hard. I mean, they really battle hard. Their coach does a nice job with that team.
Well, Rand, as always, thank you so much for joining us and good luck this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
First intermission here in Hamden, Connecticut on Nesson. The Maine Black Bears, the number 7 team in the country, hold a 3-0 advantage over the Quinnipiac Bobcats. Both teams 2 wins on the season, Quinnipiac 2-1, and Maine so far 2-0. Welcome back up inside the broadcast booth. Dan Ball with you after 20 minutes of play. It was all Black Bears to start this one, first of 2 between these 2 teams in non-conference play. As we take a look at the highlights after 20 minutes of play, the Bobcats with the first golden opportunity just 33 seconds into the first period, a chance for Jeremy Wilmer, but it goes up and over the net, and that is where Maine began things on offense. A turnover at the defensive blue line for the Bobcats leads to a goal, the first of the season for Will Gerrois. That made it 1-0. Maine continued to swarm, not without chances for the Bobcats. That was Andon Sorbonne, one of his 3 shots in the period. Only Jeremy Wilmer had more, but Maine continued to build their offensive push. As the Bobcats were watching the puck on the near side corner, it was Owen Fowler trailing the play with his first goal of the season. That made it 2-0. Maine would continue their push on an odd player rush. The shot from Poirier was stopped, but Miguel Marcus with his second goal of the season. That made it 3-0 Black Bears after 20 minutes of play. Still a lot of hockey to go between these 2 squads. Of the last 4 matchups between the Black Bears and the Bobcats, 3 have been decided by 1 goal. We'll step aside to be back with second period action here on Nesson.
Ready to start here on Nesson, the University of Maine with a 3-0 lead over number 10 Quinnipiac as we take a look at first period stats. And well, the Bobcats will begin the second period on the power play, and the shots on goal are even. Dan, that is, that's about it. It has not been a good first 20 minutes for Quinnipiac.
No, that's definitely true. You can see the saves are favoring the Black Bears, but one stat that isn't quantified that I think the Bobcats lead in, which leads to the 3-0 game, is the turnovers. It's been the mistakes that have been made around the defensive blue line and then earlier in that have led to some golden opportunities and some goals for the Maine Black Bears. But we were discussing during the commercial break heading into period number 2, would the Bobcats choose to make a change in net? They did not. They're staying with Marinov for the time being. So a message and a vote of confidence for the coaching staff for him. But I think your issues are more with the players that are playing in front of him right now. So needless to say, Phil, the power play, an important opportunity for the Bobcats when we talk about second period momentum.
They'll have 1 minute and 20 seconds of power play time when we begin. Really hard to fault Matej Marinov on any of those 3 goals that he gave up in the first period of play, basically off of turnovers. One was a rebound, but there really wasn't much he could do. Just was surrounded by Black Bear guys right around the net. As Quinnipiac to begin the second, we'll start with Vidicek, Vereau, Wittenbach, Sword, and Pelosi on the power play. Fowler, Nadeau, Jurisevic, along with Holt to begin for Maine. The Bobcats won the draw and got it in. At the line, held by Sword, now to Vereau. Vereau on his off-wing side, looking in front, quick shot, they score! 14 seconds in, Ethan Wittenbach on the power play, and the Cats are on the board.
Well, that was a convincing start to the period for the Bobcats. They started the first period 33 seconds in with that chance for Wilmer. This just 14 seconds in, and a great heads-up play there by Vereau, taking the ice in front of him, getting right to the net, and using the net back behind the cage as an ability to get that pass out in front. A quick one-timer finds Twine, so the Bobcats quickly answering that first period with the 3 goals from the Black Bears with a power play goal to get themselves on the board.
Strong Island representing Ethan Wittenbach from Roslyn, New York, his 3rd goal of the season. And see if the Cats can get another one. Long pass ahead, 2-on-1, quick shot, save made, a great pass to Marcellus by Pelosi, but Boya was there for the save.
That's a tough play on both ends there, Phil. The backhand pass was right on target, and then a one-timer on the forehand. Not an easy thing to do and get a lot of steam on it.
Meanwhile, drop back, Pelosi to Marcellus. Back in behind the goal, here is Aaron Schwartz. To the line for Sword. Banks it hard off the wall. Angles to the corner. Tracked down, but knocked down along the half boards by Charlie Letty. The Devils draft pick looks to dig it off. Big hit! Oh, Marcellus throwing the lumber around against Russell. Now a sharp angle from Schwartz is stopped, and the momentum carries the puck all the way back into the Quinnipiac zone and allows Maine to get a change.
That took a wild bounce, Phil. There was an extra stick that was sitting in the corner, and that clear attempt off the wall ended up ramping off the stick and out of the zone.
Serbone racing after it, hops around Langlois. Jeremy Langlois, don't confuse him with former Bobcat Jeremy Langlois, as it comes all the way back the other way. Gronwald hustling and wins it against Lipinski for icing, as the faceoff will come back into the Maine Black Bears zone as we take a look at that punishing hit from Marcellus.
Well, Marcellus has been trying to set the physical tone so far in this game. He had another big hit earlier on in the first period, but you can see as the puck is sitting there, you have two Black Bears that were looking to try to dig the puck out of the boards. They were kind of fighting against each other, and then Marcellus comes in to lower the boom to try to continue building the momentum and getting the fans on the side of the Bobcats here in the middle period.
Langlois controlling off the draw, sends a long pass to no one in particular, no icing, as Gronwald ladles it ahead to Serbone, across Wilmer, just out of his reach as Langlois kept it in. From the corner, now behind the net, Lipinski wraparound try, broken up, and regained in the corner by Will Gilson, who takes the bump from Lipinski. And here come the Cats now, led by Wilmer, who had a couple of great chances in the first period. On the tape for Serbone, sharp angle try, missing the net. Now Lansing. Tackle on the right side, gives to Serbone, just out of his reach, and turned around was Charlie Russell. Brady Schultz pokes it back in behind the nets. And from behind the goal, it is settled down briefly by Charlie Russell. And now Bodie Nobes, the junior for Maine, will come and let Russell flash in front. Here's a controlled breakout for Ben Barr's squad. And it's led by Nobes. Coming up on 2.5 gone to the second. A quick power play goal for Quinnipiac, now 1 for 2 on the man advantage. Just their second power play goal of the season. But it looked good on that last effort as Holt in behind the net for Scholey. Stick lifted by Lansing, digging in along the boards. Braden Blaze comes in, lost it briefly. Oh, a hard shot from the right circle. Good save made by Marinoff. And now here come the Bobcats, led by Lansing. Lansing into the main zone from the wing, sticked away by Boya. Pinching is Schultz, kept alive by Wittenbach. Behind the net, Jurasevich will settle it down with 3:05 gone to this second period. Verreau out there, Chernetsky and Air out there, along with Borgula. On defense, it's Letty and Graham Swart. Holt on the breakout, shoots in. Marinoff slowed it a bit. The other way for Letty. Long pass ahead, finding Antonin Verreau. He is cut off, falling down inside the Maine Black Bears zone as he was held up by Motu. Along the boards now. Verreau battling against Pichette, who had that good assist on the third goal for Maine. Now Letty lobs a backhand shot in on Boya, who's got to glove it like an outfielder. Much different pace, Dan, to start this second period for the Bobcats.
Yeah, I would be curious to hear what the message was in between periods from Rand Pecknold and company, but the power play was exactly what the Bobcats needed, just to get the puck moving around a bit quickly, string a couple of quick, crisp passes together, and just get a little something moving, because you can't help but be impressed with the effort that the Black Bears put on coming into Hamden and shutting out the fans very quickly.
Well, some fans in the student section. The winner today of the Eli's Brick Oven Pizza Lucky Row. If you are in the Hamden area, make sure you partake, as icing called here on Maine with 16:10 left to play in the second.
So something that we discussed earlier on in the broadcast, Phil, that I was impressed by from Ben Barr, the head coach of the Black Bears, when we were talking before the game, talking about his team's identity, and he admitted, I'm not really sure what my team's identity is right now. We're working on that. We're trying to build that, but he had some pretty critical comments about his team's effort in their scrimmage against UNH, mentioned how they wear devices on their wrists.
Oh, pass in front. Schwartz had a man to the net, and that was Pelosi, but he did not get much on that attempt. You know, the culture, you talk about the buy-in and what the look of this team is. When you have so many new players, 13 in the case of Maine, it's hard.
That was kind of my same takeaway, is that it's kind of a natural thing to be looking for it to this point in the season.
Penalty coming to the Bobcats, fired in by Nobes, and finally a whistle stopping play. I don't believe that Marinoff had control, but a Bobcat finally touched it up, and we will see Maine go to the power play for a second time in this game, up by a pair at 4:20 of the second period. But yeah, it's one of those things when you have a brand new group of players, and maybe some coaches are different. When you're Rand Pecknold, you're recruiting for an identity that has been established, yeah, I would say forever at this point, for a really long time. So you're bringing players in that are going to fit a specific identity. What's really tricky now about all these major junior kids coming in is that it is an unknown, and he did talk about that. You really don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, he mentioned how this year in college hockey, you might have some teams that are supposed to be good that aren't, and vice versa because of those veteran players coming in.
Well, the penalty is on Pelosi. Side of the net, Marinoff punching that behind the goal. So Pelosi called for interference at 4:20. 0 for 1 on the power play are the Black Bears, but they have a 3-1 lead. Poirier. Oh, he got hip checked big time by Chernesky in air. Say hello, my little friend. He went flying in the air after that hit.
Well, Chernesky in air was a little bit uneasy coming off the ice after all of that. He's still on the bench, but we'll take a look at the hit in the meantime. Up and over he goes. Justin Poirier airborne into the offensive end. Boy, oh boy.
Wow.
That is something you just don't see, but it is always awesome when you see it. The mid-ice hip check just doesn't really exist in the game all that much, but when you see it, it is explosive.
It really is, you know, and it was a dying breed of a hit 20 years ago. This isn't like something that recently left the game, but you're right. When you see it, it is such a dramatic hit to watch. That was a beauty.
Well, and the game's so fast that it's so hard to line up a player that directly. But when you do, you get the kind of height that Poirier just did.
Point shot blocked. Here comes Vidicek shorthanded. Vidicek trying to get around Jurasevich, but the veteran able to hammer him hard into the boards, but Vidicek handles it, gets it outside to Blaise. And now over to Graham Sword with 1:10 left in the power play for the Black Bears, up 3-1. A good penalty kill thus far for Quinnipiac. They came into the game just 6 of 10, but Boston College capitalizing early in that what was a loss for the Eagles on their home ice. The Bobcats opening up their season with a 4-3 win. Bobcats send it down, led by Swart. It'll come off with 45 remaining in the Pelosi interference call.
I was there that night at Conti Forum, Phil. It was a fun atmosphere to watch those teams do battle.
If you were a Bobcat fan, it was.
Well, and here we are.
Not if you're a BC fan, right? I don't think that went as well. Oh, meanwhile, nearly too many men on the ice. Jurasevich was coming off. I don't think that puck touched him. And maybe a break for the Black Bears as Maine will skate it out, led by Holt, one of the co-captains, along with Thomas Friel. Now it is Max Scott. Over to Friel. Tied up by Wilmer. Loose puck, play to the left side for Poirier. Backdoor deflected just wide. Thomas Friel to an open Josh Nadeau. Nadeau looking to get around Leddy. Spun around, held it at the point. There's a drive, and that one tipped wide. It was on its way to the net. Back to 5-on-5 hockey. The Bobcats 2 for 2 on the kill.
That was Elliot Groenwald again, Phil, with 2 key blocks on 2 power plays for the Black Bears for the first half of this game. Another one right at the tail end.
And Poirier from the right wing half wall. It's tucked in by Marinoff with 13:24 left in the second period. A 3-1 lead for Maine.
So just to button that story very quickly, talking about his team's scrimmage against New Hampshire, was talking about these things they wear on their wrists, kind of like a whoop, a way to measure heart rate. And he had a line, something to the effect of, I'm not sure any of them registered any energy in that game. So it was definitely critical about his team's effort, like the way that they responded against Holy Cross. But as you pointed out at the top of the broadcast, Phil, a whole new animal that you're dealing with in the Bobcats this evening.
Glove down by Lansing, just couldn't quite catch up to it. Back the other way comes Gerrois, who had the game's first goal off a turnover. Bodies falling along the boards. Pichette trying to drag back for a shot, spinning around, evading Lansing. Now Schultz to Wittenbach, who has the Bobcats goal, could not get it out. Pichette fires it back deep. 7:05 and counting gone in the middle frame. Anthony Cipollone, second effort, gets it clear. Pichette racing after it, but Wittenbach's got the speed, unable to beat out the icing. He didn't see Bodie Nobes coming up the middle. Wittenbach kind of shrugged his shoulder, but he did lose that foot race, just not against the guy he thought he beat.
And the official made a signal, kind of like tie goes to the runner. It was neck and neck. He kind of made a signal with his 2 hands. Very close race, but credit to Wittenbach for closing that gap quickly.
Vidicek to take the draw against Sully Sholey, a Chaska, Minnesota native. Played for the New Mexico Ice Wolves, the junior. Bobcats win control. Wittenbach softly ahead. Now to Anthony Cipollone, who has 1 assist in 3 games this season. Falling down was Motu. Big hit on the end wall. Vidicek's got it. His stick lifted. Serbone chasing it down. To the half wall, it's Gilson. As the Black Bears get it out and Sword goes after. You can see Rampecknold in this second period starting to mix and match some lines, looking for chemistry. And again, still first couple of games of the season trying to figure it out. Here's a 3-on-3. Serbone to Wilmer to Serbone. Saved by Boya. Serbone still looking for that first goal of the season. He's been a bit handcuffed for the junior out of Stamford. Face off to stay in the main zone.
Let's take a look one more time, Phil, at that zone entry by the Bobcats. I love the quick give and go here between Serbone. Watch what Andon Serbone does. He stops. He allows Wilmer to go forward and allows both defenders to backtrack closer to the goaltender, opening up the room to get that one-timer away. So I know he didn't score, but still, the heads-up play, a way to create a little bit of room on the ice in a very valuable spot. Well done there by Serbone.
Bobcats win the draw. Wilmer, Serbone at the point to the opposing corner. Vidicek battling Holt. Now Wilmer drops it off. Serbone to the slot, shoots off his stick. Sword feeds it back to Serbone. You love the puck movement here from Quinnipiac as Gilson quickly Serbone moves it to Wilmer. Wilmer, the senior, down the right wing side. Cuts it back toward the middle. Pass in front. Broken up. A shot by Vidicek. A backhand try. Went just wide. And now Serbone comes in. And he got laid out along the boards. Good hit by Jaden Lipinski, and meanwhile a breakaway for Friel. He scores! Thomas Friel on the breakaway, and Maine is back on top by 3.
Well, Phil, the Bobcats were so heavily involved on that puck movement that you talked about in the offensive end. They had all 5 players that were committed to moving the puck around. And as they're in the midst of backtracking, you can see Maine's out of the zone quickly. The 2 defenders were just a bit too flat-footed on that play. It allows for the partial breakaway and able to create a little bit more space there was Friel. Watch, you can see he's even with the defenders. He's able to get that one step away, find the puck, and go up and over the glove of Marinov. So a lot of attention being put towards the puck by the Bobcats in that offensive end. Maine opportunistic in their transition. They get a breakaway in goal number 4.
Well, you had those 2 guys out at the center line, neither moving the body to try to knock it down, and that pass came through quickly. But it did start with the hit from Lipinski, because that freed it up for Holt to get that puck quickly up the ice for the breakaway chance. So Thomas Friel earns the goal, the senior captain, second of the season. 4-1 Black Bears back on top, and now how quickly can the Bobcats capitalize and make it a 2-goal game once again? Tackle on the near wing side. Cleared out to center. Pelosi cutting in front of Scott. And now Elliot Gronwald is there as he will settle in behind his net. Charlie Letty looking up ice. Pass is blocked as a hit off of Poirier. Second effort. Now to Schwartz. Gains the offensive zone along with Marcellus. Here's Schwartz waiting. Backhand pass, a shot. Marcellus, and Boya makes the save with 10:51 to go as Marcellus is pulled down into a pile with the whistle stoppage. And check that, by the way, check that on the Friel goal. It was Peterson who gets credit for the assist.
The 7th defender getting now 2nd point in second game for Peterson, but Marcellus bringing the fight to the Black Bears there. We've seen him all around it in terms of physicality. Also worth noting from that game 2 last year that ended 6-5 in overtime for the Black Bears, Maine did have a 4-1 lead in the second period before Quinnipiac scored the next 4. So again, that implies a lot of change in momentum coming up, but just interesting to see history repeating so far.
Well, Veroux had the stick knocked out of his hand. Marching in was Borgula. Regain, Gerrois at the game's first goal. To the left side for Komarov. Oscar Komarov. His older brother, much older brother, the former New York Islander Leo Komarov, who's still playing pro over in Europe. Gerrois knocked away off the puck. Borgula on his off wing, couldn't center the pass. Komarov back the other way, tries to drop the shoulder around Blaze. Good centering pass, no one there. And now here come the Bobcats with it, led by Chernesky in air. Along the right wing, he gains the zone, gives the Veroux, dangles, back to Chernesky in air, and a save made by Boya from the wing. A shot fired off the mark from the defenseman as Lenny back to the corner, in behind the net by Chernesky in air, as he gets draped on by Motu. Behind for Borgula, he's checked off. Motu using a strong physical presence to slow things up. And now the Bobcats have to race back as Brady Schultz got turned around a little bit. Gerwa gained the zone as it is Sully Sholey, flanked by a pair of gold sweaters, knocked over. Charlie Russell getting thrown around a bit by Schultz, playing a physical game. As Matt McGroarty getting a little bit of ice time here in the second period, the extra forward. Lobbed ahead. Holt ahead to Sholey, hammered by Charlie Letty. Laying the lumber down is that one fired just wide of the reach of Marinoff, who has given up 2 on breakaways of the 4. Goes through the legs and picked up by Frank Jurasevich. Shots on goal 18-14 in favor of the Bobcats, although the score tilted in the other direction. Good hit there by Letty on Sholey. Russell battling in the corner. Oh, that was a cross check to the back. A Bobcat got knocked down. That was Letty. There's no call as the puck is iced. And we'll come back into the Quinnipiac zone. And you heard the crowd, Dan, after that.
All right, Phil, let's take a quick look at that hit that you mentioned. So near side corner, you can see it's a 2-on-1 there, and Letty, as he's looking at the puck, that's Sully Sholey who's coming through. That was to the letters. It was away from the board, so it kind of lessened the impact of the hit, but I can certainly see that the Bobcats would have a case for that.
There's a drive from Nobes that's blocked by Wittenbach. The pressure in as the only goal for the Bobcats today on the power play. He gets it back on a pass, drops it off. No one was there. That's one thing, Dan, the Bobcats have to be careful of, and you're seeing it from some of these first-year guys with those kind of blind drop passes that, you know, they look pretty if you complete them. You know, junior hockey guys often get those passes through. You can't always do that at this level.
Well, it's a prime example of the kind of speed that you face in juniors versus college hockey.
There's a shot from the left circle by Vidicek and a great save by Boya. Wilmer back over Vidicek. Knocked away from him. Wilmer, the presence of mind from his knee to get it back to Vidicek, but around the net with it is Langlois. Taken by Serbone, pass in the slot, a shot, they score! Marcus Vidicek goes top roof, and the Cats are right back in it.
Well, Phil, this line was really swarming here on this shift for the Bobcats. They created transition earlier on in the shift and were able to forecheck their way to a turnover in the near side corner. You find the trailing forward in Vidicek. There were 2 Bobcats in that corner that were able to force the turnover. Langlois was unable to handle it, and a quick shot there up and over the blocker of Albin Boya. This line has been really, really good for the Bobcats. It's the only line that's played all 3 games together, and I think Rand Pecknold might have found something with it.
Marcus Vidicek, the 5'10 first-year player out of Montreal, 328 points in the QMJHL, split between Moncton along with the Halifax squad. And he picks up his second goal of the season. Shot from the wing, a save, fanned on by Schwartz, who was right there at the doorstep. Andon Serbone getting the assist in his first point of the season. He caused the turnover. Now to Schwartz, to Marcellus, cross-ice pass. Pelosi played it off the boards. Down low for Schwartz. Schwartz battling in the corner against Motu. Marcellus digs in, and he's cut off as Sholey takes it away. Leads it ahead for Owen Fowler. Lobs it over the head of Sword. And now Sword, long pass ahead, and off balance was Marcellus. He couldn't keep that on his stick.
That's a heads-up play. Unfortunately, Marcellus was just on the wrong foot in backing up as the puck was going towards his forehand.
Komarov pokes it across the line. Will Gilson is there for the Cats. Under 7 minutes to go in the second. Nearly turned over, and a nice little poke check there by Chernesky in there. Couldn't quite clear the zone. And now Chernesky in there. Gerwa meets him. They battle. The captain coming away with it. Playing gritty, but a penalty coming. A cross check with 6:42 left to play in the second. And we'll tell you about it when we come back after this. It's 4-2 Maine on Nesson. Back in Hamden, Connecticut, 4-2 Maine leading the number 10 Bobcats. The penalty on Graham Sword for a cross check. 13-18 time of the penalty. Scott, Friel, Poirier, Holt, And Nadeauan for Ben Barr's Black Bears. Say that 3 times fast. Chernesky in there to take the face-off for Quinnipiac. To the right, Amerinoff. At the line, it's Holt. Inching in. There's a shot. Save made. Poke back to the line. Holt keeps it alive. Poirier looking backdoor. Good block by Chernesky in there as you had Friel looking for his second goal and now cleared up the boards as the Black Bears will start in their own zone.
Bobcats get a bit of a break there by the dasher board, Phil, right at that far side point, but the defenders for the Bobcats on these penalty kills have been doing a nice job. They go really, really hard at the guys playing at on the umbrella on the power play, and they've been able to block a few critical shots because of it.
Wow, Holt barely kept that alive. Now to Poirier high slot, nearly poked free. Nadeau from the line, turned it around. Good reach from Letty as he got his stick in there on the intended feed for Poirier and sent down with under 6 minutes to play in the second period. Quinnipiac down 3-0 at the end of one. They've closed the gap slightly. 4-2 Black Bears. Goals by Wittenbach and Vidicek, the first years here in the second period. High slot. Poirier shoots. Blocked by Brace. What a play by Braden Blace. Ate that one up. Here's Marcellus shorthanded. Waiting. Tries to get it through. Here's Vidicek along the right side. Makes a move. Trying to angle in, but he was bodied off by Holt. And he comes off now with 38 seconds left in the Swart penalty.
Man, Phil, you don't know for sure if he saved a goal, but Thomas Friel saved a breakaway at very least. And Vidicek, as he was at the end of his shift, didn't realize that Schwartz was coming down towards that far post. He was also open for a pass, but the Bobcats still able to generate a bit of pressure here on the penalty kill.
Vidicek will drop it off. Through center is Russell. Now over to Fowler. Dumped in around the net. Drop back, and Lipinski holds in at the line. Along to the near wing. Good work by Letty. Has been out there on this penalty kill. Got a couple of good clears. Fired it in on Boya, who hands it off now for Lipinski, and it's back to 5-on-5. So the Black Bears 0 for 3 in the power play. Quinnipiac's kill has looked solid. Meanwhile, Fowler meeting Gilson. Behind the net, it's Gronwall. On the tape, Wilmer. Ahead now for Serbone, who set up Vidicek on that second goal. Angles it off the wall. Chernesky in there looking for Gronwall cutting to the net. Sits in deep. Couple of players in there for Maine, including Motu, as he whips it around. And now Gilson got caught with the linesman. Schwartz has it for the Bobcats. Long pass ahead. Lansing touches it off for Wilmer. Wilmer to the slot. Now for Schwartz, a shot blocked. And then it got through to Boya, who holds on with 4:01 left in the second.
Another really nice example there, Phil, of zone entry for the Bobcats. They've been a lot better here in the second period through the neutral zone. Quick touch pass there, finds Wilmer, drops it back behind the back for Schwartz, who was coming in late, and you can see it gets caught up there in the blocker, right between the shoulder and the blocker, but I love the quick pass there from Wilmer. It opens up the shooting lane. Try to go back over the blocker. Usually a better chance to go right over the blocker and over the shoulder, but a nice save there by Boya. He's been outstanding once again.
Lansing and Komarov on the face-off to the left of Albin Boya. And then Gilson tried to backtrack. They're going to throw Lansing out of the dot for that? Yeah, they are. It's a point of emphasis, and we haven't seen much tonight. In fact, I think that's the first time someone's kicked out of the face-off dot. Good win there from Lansing. Now for Gilson. Schwartz at the half boards. Lansing takes the long way around. Pichette gets to the puck first. They battle. Dug off the wall. Good work. Schwartz to the line. Sword fires it off the back of Nobes. Regained by Schwartz in the corner. Tries to shake off Pichette. Nice move by Schwartz, looking in front. And Lansing tried to get around the big body of Bodie Nobes, and he couldn't quite get there in time as Langlois looking ahead. Komarov hit by Schwartz with 3.5 to play in the second. Now Schwartz has it. 3-on-2 up top to Gilson. Along the half wall, could not get that through Gerrois. And from the corner, it's Nobes, pinned by Antonin Verreau. Over Gilson's head. Vidicek can't contain it. Gilson back there, and he drives it in with 3:10 left in the second. Shots on goal, 23 for the Bobcats, 15 for Maine. Maine is capitalized, though. A couple of breakaways, scoring on some turnovers, so they have taken advantage of the few opportunities that they've had. As it comes to puck possession, Dan, the Bobcats seem to have owned it here in the second period.
I think that's fair to say that the shot specifically in the second, Phil, 12-4 in favor of the Bobcats. So you're right, they've been extremely opportunistic in the way that they're scoring. But again, if you're giving 2-on-1s and breakaways, then a lot of teams are going to be able to cash in on those.
Wilmer with a spinorama pass looking for Vidicek, and it never gets there. Marinoff around for Gronwald. Long pass up ice. Finds Lansing. Little give and go with Wittenbach. It's broken up by Holt. Cleared out to center. And Lansing back with it will snap it in as Boya behind his net leaves it for Peterson. And Peterson, who assisted on that breakaway goal scored by Thomas Friel. And on the breakout, the Bobcats get it back inside their zone. Cipollone for Letty. And now for Lansing, who seems to have been out there for quite a while on this shift. Nearly coughed it up. Facing pressure on the turnover. Lipinski looking short side. Missed the net. And now Chabrier dropped it off, and it's a turnover. And here comes Wittenbach. Wittenbach waiting for men. And he's got him to Lansing. He shoots. Sliding block is made. Recovering was Motu to get a piece of that chance. And now Letty. First Cipollone on the tape. Firing one, and it was partially blocked by Chabrier, who gets the whack from Wittenbach at the end of the sequence.
Boy, no sooner said than done, Phil. As soon as you mentioned that it looked like Matthew Lansing had been out there for a while, he was the lone defender back in the Bobcats' defensive zone, and you saw a guy whose legs weren't able to out-hustle the oncoming Maine forward. He turned it over, and it led to a chance the other way, but to his credit, he had enough gas to jump in and create a 3-on-2 on a chance that ultimately got blocked. So a hard-working shift on both sides of the puck for Matthew Lansing, as now Rand Pecknold has come down from his perch on the bench. Appears to be searching for something, hands in the air, looking for an official.
Well, Joe Carasone, one of the referees, will come in, and I think he's trying to dictate who should be on the ice. Bobcats get the last change at home. And Joe Carasone did go to the main bench and summon a few guys back out there, so maybe it's that. Stephen Drain, the linesman, to drop the puck between Marcellus and Friel. Won by the Bobcats. Aaron Schwartz. Schwartz lost the puck trying to face the net. In the corner, Pelosi, stick lifted. Gets it to Marcellus, try to feed it back in front. Good defense by the Black Bears. Lipinski sends it through, finding Marquis as it's in behind the goal. Loose in front, sticked over for Schwartz. 70 seconds to play in the period. Here comes Marcellus down the left wing. Marcellus waiting, finding Schwartz, and he tried to drop it off. No one was thinking cut to the slot except for the opposition as Holt takes it the other way in the final minute of this second period.
You've seen that a couple times for lines other than the Wilmer, Vidicek, and Serbone line. They've just been off by a tad, and you can see that those pairings are still kind of working things out in the early going here in the season.
They're trying to make plays anticipating someone's going to be there, and then they're just not. And again, that's part of learning the chemistry, learning about your line mates. Long pass for Russell. Bodied up by Gronwald with 33 seconds to go in the period. Now a scrum in the corner as they vie for control. Gilson digs in there as well. You got Chernesky in there waiting for the puck to come free. He has it. Now Borgula there. Out to the left for Gronwald. Cross ice pass. Chernesky in there gliding across the Black Bears line. Drops it around Langlois. Finding an open Gilson at the line. Now over to Verreau, under 10 to play in the period. Verreau top of the left circle, looking backdoor. That's a good stick in there by Fowler. Sharp angle try, Verreau fires, he missed it by an inch. Just past the far post side, the Bobcats nearly scored to end the period. They do find themselves a little bit closer after 40 minutes. The Black Bears lead the Bobcats 4-2. Did you know the new Quinnipiac president was inaugurated yesterday, Marie Hardin, the newest president of Quinnipiac University, and if you don't know her, you'll get to know her when we come back in this Ambition Unleashed feature. You are watching Quinnipiac Hockey on NESN.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Who Are You? The Bobcats You Know, the Stories You Don't. I'm your host, Joel Vanner, inside the podcast studio at Quinnipiac University's School of Communications. And I am honored today to be joined by a very special guest, Quinnipiac's President Marie Hardin. Dr. Hardin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Joel.
So I ask every guest this first question. It's an easy question, but it's the name of the show. Dr. Harden, tell me, who are you?
I'm the 10th president of Quinnipiac University, but I would add to that I'm a runner, I'm a reader, I'm an explorer, I'm a dog owner, and I think, an all-around curious person.
Okay.
So there you go.
That's a good start. And being so close to Sleeping Giant State Park, I'm sure running, reading, exploring, all of those things, if you've had an opportunity to take advantage of it over there.
Absolutely. My husband and I love Sleeping Giant. We love just exploring Connecticut. It is phenomenal. Yeah. It
is very, very, very pretty. And so is our campus here. You started talking about your passions, I think. You talked about reading and running and being a dog owner.
Yes.
Growing up, what were you passionate about? What experiences did you have that led to passions maybe in the professional side? Yeah,
I appreciate that question because I think that those childhood passions often shape who we are and our career paths. And I'm very fortunate as I look back and I think about, my period growing up. I was a reader from a very young age. My family didn't have a lot of money, but I knew the books in the library were free. So my mom would take us to the library and I would load up on books. And that was a wonderful way to escape and to learn about the world. So that was a big part of sort of my identity, I think, as a kid growing up. I can remember the first time I laced up a pair of tennis shoes and went outside for a run. I was 12 years old and I was curious about what it would be like to run around the block it was a mile around the block, and I had my little canvas tennis shoes. And it turned out that I loved that too. I was very involved in sports as a kid, and that was a big part of my identity. I had a sister who was close in age, and she and I ran track together, and we played basketball and volleyball. And
which was your favorite out of those?
I think it was track and cross country.
Okay.
I loved playing basketball, but track and cross country, I loved the freedom of sort of knowing that I could blaze a trail with my running shoes on. I love that.
40 minutes are in the books here at the M&T Bank Arena. The Maine Black Bears leading the Bobcats 4-2 as we welcome you back upstairs. Phil Jubileo and Dan Ball with you, and after what was a very rough first period of play for the Bobcats, those second and third goals from Maine coming under a minute apart and really took, what was a tight game for much of that first 40 minutes and kind of blew it out a little bit. Quinnipiac, a big bounce back in the second. They did give up that breakaway goal to Thomas Friel, but if you look at how the two teams played in the middle 40, Quinnipiac certainly had the better of it.
They did. They let in shots 12-4 in that middle period. The key, Phil, with the power play starting the second period for the Bobcats, you have to start fast. You have to grab some of that momentum back, and as we take a look at the second period highlights, they did just that, beginning with a power play goal. This was just 14 seconds in to the second period. A great heads-up play there by Verreau to get the puck in front to Ethan Wittenbach, the reigning ECAC Rookie of the Week. He scores to make it 3-1, and then the Bobcats started playing the hits. Watch on your screen, Mason Marcellus, there he is, to lay the hit there as two Maine Black Bears were digging for that puck. And then this one, Victor Chernetsky in air. It's a bird, it's a plane, no, it's Justin Poirier flying through the air on the hip check on that one. He knocked him down to keep it to a 2-goal game. But the hits were laid by the Black Bears as well. This one forces a turnover with two Bobcats defenders flat-footed. It leads to a breakaway for Thomas Friel and a goal. At that point, it was 4-1 Black Bears. It looked like they may be able to run away with this one, but more pressure coming from the top line, which I think has played outstanding, Phil. Each player with 4 shots through 2 periods on that top line. That one finds Twine off the stick of Marcus Vidicek, his second of the season, 4-2 after 40 minutes. And I think you nailed it right off the top of this segment, partner. The Bobcats looked a lot better in that second period, plain and simple. I think the compete level was higher. The mistakes were limited, but again, you saw in that goal that made it 4-2, a turnover with your defense not really expecting a player to cut behind you. They score, so you're going to have to essentially be mistake-free here in the third period.
What we did see in each of the first two periods, the Bobcats coming out quickly. Didn't work out for them in the first, it did in the second period. What will the third period bring? Well, we'll find out when we come back on Nesson. We're about ready for the start of the third period here on Nesson. Quinnipiac trailing Maine 4-2 as we take a look at some second period stats. Through 40 minutes of action, the Bobcats did outshoot the Black Bears 12-4 in the second period. Face-offs are just about even. The Bobcats are +1 in that regard. But on the scoreboard, the Black Bears were once led by 3 on 2 separate occasions, up by a pair after 40 minutes of play. And Dan, it really all comes down to, I think the first 5-6 minutes of this period, the Bobcats have to continue that puck control that we saw for much of the second period, and really they got to pop one in early.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair to say. You just don't want to allow Albin Boya to lock in once again. Catch him a little bit uncomfortable, if that's even possible at this point in his career at the beginning of a period. But I really like the way, Phil, that the Bobcats turned up the pressure on the forecheck. They were able to force a turnover to lead to that Vidicek goal. So the more that you make the Maine defenders uncomfortable, the more that you can try to capitalize and claw back in this game.
As Vidicek wins the face-off to begin the final period. There's Gronwald, quick shot, missed the corner. This time it was a long-range effort trying to get the Bobcats within 1. Jurasevich drops it back for Holt. They begin with Fowler up front with Sholey and Russell, the third line. Backdoor pass out of Serbone's reach. He set up Vidicek for the second goal. Meanwhile, it's Vidicek behind the net, giving to Wilmer, turning and shooting, blocked. And that is one area where Maine has been pretty solid in regards to stopping the Bobcats. They have blocked 9 shots. The Bobcats have blocked 11. For Pelosi, deflecting in off the top of the glass. He glides after it, finds the puck on the left side. And now the Boston Bruins draft pick looking for Sword, punching it to the front of the net and regained by Aaron Schwartz. So for the first part of this third period, the Bobcats have puck possession, but now sent clear, and Justin Poirier will hustle after it. Icing waved off as he beats Sword. Now it's Schwartz, taken back by Pelosi, waiting calmly, finding Charlie Letty. Letty from the left side will backhand it in. And in deep it's Chabrier. Over to Motu and ahead for Nadeau. Josh Nadeau across the Quinnipiac line. Nadeau had a goal against Holy Cross last weekend. Now Marcellus coughed up, quick save made by Vitey Marinoff on a point-blank range shot. Now punch back to the slot, and those are the turnovers you don't want to see if you're Rand Pecknold.
Yeah, that is an example of what not to do when you have the puck as a defender in your own slot. That's got to be hard off the boards or off the glass and out of the zone, or at least chipped out to center, and that's a veteran in Marcellus, who I'm a little surprised made that play, but those turnovers have kind of been rampant here tonight.
We've seen a lot of turnovers on both sides. Part of that's early season. Part of that's a lot of speed forcing some of those turnovers. Some big hits have forced them as well. And these two teams like to skate. Lansing shovels it in from the far boards. Now Cipollone gliding after it. Takes the hit. Lansing there. Chernetsky in air. Looking down low. Puck bouncing in front. And Cipollone, his back to the puck. It ended up being gloved down by Boya. Had he seen it, he might have been able to get to that in front.
Yeah, you have to stop on a dime, Phil, if you're going to get there in time. But he was expecting that puck to come careening around the end board so he can meet it in the near corner. But instead, wobble, right in front of the crease where Boya ends up making the save. So a near miss on a bit of a bizarre bounce.
Wobble. Is that the technical term?
Absolutely, that's the hockey dictionary term.
There we go. Face-off coming to the left of Albin Boya.
I'll coin that one.
Komarov thrown out of the dot. Bobcats win the draw. High slot. Baroa's shot save made. The rebound backhanded in front. It was Gilson. It found McGroarty, but he couldn't get a stick down on it. Now Oscar Komarov in this fourth line from Maine, Dan, has been really good in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been generating a lot of chances, and they're kind of always swarming around the puck when they're out there. So limited minutes, but the game's first goal and some pretty decent chances all around.
Puck played in. Falling was Jurasevich. Can the Bobcats capitalize here in front? It skips over. Gilson overskates it. And in behind. A lot of players slipping and sliding on the ice surface here in this game. Second game on the ice today. The women played Northeastern earlier, and they improved to 7-0 on the season. A 5-3 win over the Huskies. and a 4-goal game for Kalen LaMarche, who finished with 5 points.
Yeah, the game had a little bit of everything. I'm intrigued about what Game 2 tomorrow looks like between those two.
Here's Vidicek firing short side, couldn't beat Boya. Taken out through center. And Giroir got it in, but here come the Bobcats quickly back. Gaining the center line was Wilmer on the dump in. Boya whips it back around. Good work, nearly taken away by Vidicek. Up the boards, Charlie Russell has a man in front. There's a fanned-on shot. Good back pressure coming, that was Wilmer. Now Fowler in behind the goal to the corner and back around for Motu waiting. Now in the circle, Russell turns and shoots in one motion. Again, Wilmer got in the way. And now Vidicek off the body of Serbone. Wilmer knocked down from behind. It's one thing Wilmer doesn't have. He's not the biggest player, so he does get bumped around a little bit at times as the Bobcats ice it with 4:01 gone to the third.
Well, Phil, how does a team finish a season with 24 wins? You finish off wins when you're leading after 2. This team last season 16-1-1 when leading after 2 periods. Another 2-0 in that column this season as they were leading after 2 in both games last weekend.
So the Bobcats have to find a way back down 2 here in their home opener. These teams will play again tomorrow at 4 o'clock on ESPN+. Bobcat weekend. So it's a homecoming for many, hence the sellout here tonight. If you're watching the Bobcats on Nesson for the first time and you're like, sold out, there are seats, I can see them. So many of the fans like to stand on the concourse. It actually gives you a better view than sitting in some of the seats.
I co-sign that.
Meanwhile, it's Chernesky and Air across the line. Down the wing he goes against Langlois. He's pinned. Ahead to Marcellus. Open at the point. Cross ice. One-timer by Schultz. Wide. Dropped through the legs by Pelosi, who gets it back. He'll bring it out wide as the Bobcats look to generate some offense here. Down a pair. Schwartz cut off. Marcellus comes away with it. Was looking for Pelosi in front. Fanned on by Schwartz and cleared out by the Black Bears as Schultz back to it quickly. Long up pass to Marcellus. Leaves at the line, and they say Pelosi was offside, and the fans don't like the call. It'll come out to the neutral zone with 15:10 to play. Well, the Bobcats lost last Friday to Fairbanks at the Icebreaker. They generated a ton of grade A chances, couldn't finish in that game. They got the lone goal in the contest, which had tied at 1, and then Fairbanks took a 2-1 lead. That was the final score. And you feel like in a game like this tonight, Dan, I don't know if there's as many grade A chances, but certainly a fair number of scoring chances, and you have to get more. It's one of those things when you have an Albin Boya in the net for Maine, you know, this isn't enough offense. It's not enough generated to kind of get back in this one. You got to do something extra.
It's not enough offense created specifically from passing there, Phil, because you're rarely going to beat Albin Boya one-on-one, just a better shot than the goaltender can handle. So the Bobcats haven't been able to consistently move the puck around to get him moving in his crease, which is a tough thing to do against a very good defensive team. So it's a bit of a rock and a hard place situation.
Oh, Cipollone got hit hard along the wall. Looked like his face hit the side of the kind of the padding. As there's a chance in front. Save made the rebound. They're jamming away at it. Lipinski was right there, but somehow it's kept out of the net by Marinoff.
That was a wild sequence of events, and you're going to see at least one goal-saving play by the defense of the Bobcats before the puck ultimately rests with Marinov. So it gets in front, you can see it's loose, it's swept away there by Gilson once, goes back behind the net for a second chance. All the while, Jaden Lipinski has been hacking and whacking at that for a couple of moments. So it was swept away there by Gilson, onto the tape of a Black Bear, off the side of the net, through the crease and wide, and then eventually Marinov was able to regain enough of his footing to make a save.
Will that be the bounce the Bobcats get in their favor to try to muster one the other way? Here they come, led by Serbone. There's a shot off of Motu into the netting, but it leads to an offensive zone draw. I mean, sometimes you just need a break, right? So if you're the Bobcats who gave up a couple off of turnovers in the first period of this game, you're hoping to see that. Because, 9 times out of 10, that ends up behind Matej Marinoff in the back of the net.
That's true. Yeah, you're hoping that if nothing else, the hockey gods are more on your side with the turnovers and the bounces and things like that. But I didn't love that shot selection from Serbone. I think there was a little bit more that could have been made on that play. A couple of passes to try to get a better chance. But you're right, offensive zone face-off, and here we go.
Puck in the corner, taken by Wilmer, inching into the circle. Off to Serbone, handles the bouncing puck, now drops it back off, and Maine's able to get that out. Racing after it is Leddy, and it's icing on the Black Bears. There was some good puck movement briefly by the Bobcats, and then just kind of dropped off into no man's land. But Rand Pecknold able to make a change. We have Sword and Schultz, along with Marcellus, Pelosi, and Schwartz. That line has stayed constant for the most part tonight. Stephen Drain getting ready to drop the puck.
Phil, I believe the Bobcats are currently without Braden Blaise, and the reason I say that is because Victor Chernetsky is sitting down with the defenders, and I saw him take a spin out on defense a couple of moments ago, so something to monitor. Schultz
from the point, tucked in by Boya. That would leave the Bobcats with just 5 regular defensemen in the game. They've been normally dressing, they have dressed 7 in previous games. Nate Tibby is one of the scratches, first year from Dundas, Ontario. He's a big boy at 6'5", and he is a scratch tonight. Drew Hockley has yet to play in a game this season, the sophomore, who came midway through the first. And also we've yet to see Logan McCutcheon, who played in Lethbridge in the Western Hockey League. So there are defensemen on the roster, just not in the lineup right now.
And meanwhile, you can sacrifice a forward with the Bobcats going with 13, so you wonder if McGroarty then slides up onto that fourth line, depending on how much that fourth line sees in terms of ice time this period.
Marcellus looking to wrap around in front, had it poached away. Now Russell flips it in. Brady Schultz is there. Shoveled hard around, waiting on it is Schwartz, and tried to start up ice with it, lost it to Langlois. Schultz back in deep. Former captain at the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League level before coming to Quinnipiac this season. Now Pelosi looking across, bouncing puck Marcellus, shoved away by Fowler. It comes to Sully Sholey. Schwartz slows him a bit as Russell is beaten by Schwartz to the puck, or check that, Schultz to the puck. And now Sword for Aaron Schwartz. The sophomore gliding across, moving to his right, in front! And that was Lansing, could not get that all the way through. Meanwhile, knocked off the puck was Antonin Barreau as it's whipped up the far boards, and Gilson taking an angle after it. Gilson paired now with Gronwald. Up ice, and Friel gathers it back for the Black Bears with 12.5 to go. Turn the other way, and no icing here as Gronwald will start from behind his net. Antonin Barreau back across pretty easily, and now over to Wittenbach, who has one of the 2 tonight for the Bobcats. Wittenbach turning and firing, it's loose in the circle. A stride late was Gilson. Lipinski can't get it out. Lansing shovels it down the boards. Varro waiting on it in the corner. Faced up by Chabrier at the line. Gilson ricochets one off the wall. Coming after it, now back to the line for Sword. And it's off Lipinski. And out of play. The extra kick, the extra point's no good. That one drifting far to the right. At 11:52 to go. Fan got a souvenir out of it.
It's true. On top of a white shirt to commemorate the game today, which did not find their way up to the booth. Well, one did.
One did, but it's a men's size small. And for those of you who have watched enough broadcasts know, that ain't fitting Phil. That ain't fitting, and you don't want to see it. My daughter, who's going to be 12 in January, will get a nice little gift. Face-off will be to the right of Boya.
That's still a good use, I would contend.
It is. She'll be able to do some 50th anniversary advertising. Wilmer trying to cut to his right. Lost in the slot. Nadeau drops it back off. Max Scott, the Brown transfer, chips it up the wall. Not as much of an impact so far in this game as Wilmer takes it across the line as Serbone. Wilmer kind of had that puck a little off balance. Holt caught him off balance in the meantime. Now he came away with it, was looking for Serbone, had it off his leg. the puck like a hot potato, and now Jurasevich in across the line on the tape. Scott shooting one wide. Jurasevich got it back. Peterson hustling, but has to gather it up in the neutral zone. He took a run at the linesman, it looked like, as the puck is dumped in, and now Swartz there, but it's icing on the Black Bears with 11:05 to go.
The one spot where Max Scott has made his impact, Phil, at the faceoff dot. This is a guy that came in from Brown, was ranked 5th in the NCAA with 463 faceoffs won. That is an incredible number so far. 8-8 at the dot, team high 8 faceoff wins. So that's a very useful player, even if you're not seeing him on the score sheet to this point. 3 assists in the 2 games last weekend.
Face-off to Boy is right. Marcellus, Schwartz, Pelosi, Gronwald, and Ledion. Max Scott will take the face-off. Bobcats win it clean. Gronwald skating down the boards. Against Peterson, the sophomore. Gronwald there. Ahead to Letty. Feigns a drive. Over to Schwartz. Turns, thrown in front. Good block made by the veteran Jurasevich. Pelosi hit hard, kept his footing, looking for Marcellus. Try to play it off his skate. Loose to Pelosi, and Boya stops him on a good look from the sophomore. And a little bit of physical altercations after the whistle, stopping play with 10:44 to go.
It's once again Marcellus in there, Phil, creating some of that physicality at and after the whistle. That was a shift that I liked on offense for the Bobcats, and more of what they're going to need to do, which is sending multiple players to the front of the net right at the top of the crease to try to take the eyes away from Alvin Boya. You pair that with a seeing eye shot, and you're able to do some business. So I like the way the Bobcats were attacking the offensive end in that last shift. The
first-year line of Lansing, Wittenbach, and Barreau are on. Komarov thrown out of the dot. Pichette will take the face-off. Oh, and he started early a second time, it looked like Pichette. Second time's a delay of game penalty. They did not call it. Bobcats try to work it to the middle. Pinballing puck. Pichette's got it. An assist tonight for him. He's got 3 points already this season. Lifted ahead. Barreau. Now to Gronwald. Chipped in across. Can't get around Komarov. Bodie Nobes looking to move it up, and we got a penalty coming for interference. And the Bobcats will get their 3rd power play. We saw what happened the last time they had the man advantage. And can they do that again here with 10:20 to go?
You know, I was wondering, Phil, you don't always see that called, but when Gronwald chipped the puck to himself off the near side wall, you could see that Komarov had no interest in following the puck. Instead, he went into Gronwald and finished off that hit, which impeded Gronwald from chasing down that puck. So it wasn't extremely obvious, and you see those a lot of times in games go by the wayside, but the official trailing the play saw it, and the Bobcats get a power play out of it.
Vidicek, Wittenbach, Barreau, Pelosi, and Graham Swart on the ice. The Bobcats win the draw. They're 1 for 2. Here's Vidicek. Now spinorama pass in front to a cutting Pelosi. Broken up but contained at the line now by Swart. Knocked out to center. Max Scott pressuring hard on that penalty kill for Maine. Trying to strip Swart, the rookie, with a year of pro experience under his belt, and had trouble against the junior Max Scott. Held at the line. Here's Pelosi gliding right. Gives to Swart. Hands off to Wittenbach. Wittenbach, center point, off the wall. Barreau is there. Hit in the head by Holt. Got it to Friel, and he gets it out with 9:40 to go. First 40 seconds of this penalty kill, solid for Maine. And the Bobcats, who needed just a few seconds at the beginning of the second period to pick up their first goal of the evening, having a little bit more trouble here establishing some puck offensive zone time. This first unit back out there. Serbone looking for Marcellus. Too far. Chabrier to play it. Wilmer comes over. Ties his man up. Serbone is there. Now Aaron Schwartz to Gilson. Makes a move. Serbone's got it. Shadowed nicely by Nadeau. Give and go back to Serbone. At the half wall, it's Wilmer. Wilmer looks to dance in. Backdoor was looking for Schwartz, and they saw that. Good video scouting from Maine as it's played back the other way.
It's the right idea there from Wilmer, too, and more of what I think the Bobcats need to lean into, which is those cross-crease passes. The problem was he wasn't really moving, and neither was his target when he was doing that, so your defense was able to set their feet and make a play on that puck.
Along the half boards, a 2-on-2 battle dug in by Serbone. Bodie Nobes in behind the net, shoveling it for Russell. He gets it out with 8.5 to go. Final 10 seconds left in the penalty against Komarov. The Bobcats about to go 1 for 3 on the power play as they break out one last time. Here's Aaron Schwartz shoveling that high. Bouncing puck, Boya. Watch that hesitantly as it came to his stick. Holt now directing traffic from behind his cage. Jurasevich will lead the breakout for the Black Bears. A 2-0 record for Maine, a pair of wins over Holy Cross last weekend at home. They say Alfond Arena, probably the toughest place in college hockey to play. Dominant on home ice. Meanwhile, McGroarty across the line. As Garois over to Komarov. Back across, Giroir tied up by McGroarty. In the slotted chance, and Komarov robbed. Good save made by the netminder Matej Marinoff.
Another chance for this fourth line, Phil, as they continue to be all around the puck when they're out there, and Ben Barr continues to rotate through his offensive lines pretty evenly, which is keeping them fresh here down the stretch.
Under 7:30 to go. Lansing cut off, just hopping over the boards was Marcus. Now Nobes in deep in his own zone. Thomas Friel jumps in, flips it across. Graham Sword looking over his shoulder, whips it around, finding Letty. As Wilmer in the neutral zone. Puck never got to him as it stumped back the other way with 7 minutes to play. Right now, Maine's in shutdown mode. Dan just trying to clog up that neutral zone.
Yeah, the best place for the puck to be is exactly where it was just then, right behind the Bobcats net if you're the visiting team.
Now Serbone dangling down the left side. Poked away in the circle. Marcus centers Lipinski. Cutting to the left, gaining the offensive end as he goes around Chernetsky and Air, who's out there with Graham Sword playing defense at the moment. As Dan mentioned, Braden Blaze and a turnover. Poirier rifles one. Good save made by Marinoff as Holt holds in at the line. Ricochets it wide. Jurasevich couldn't get it in front. Vidicek got a piece of it, and he is slow back to the bench as Maine coming in waves here in this third period in the last few minutes. Behind the goal, Serbone. Now on the tape for Marcellus. The Bobcats in transition. Marcellus catching up to it. A man falls. There's a shot. Save made. Behind the net, Marcellus trying to get that back. Quickly surrounded by Scott. At the point, Chernetsky and Air trying to keep that in. Pelosi to help out. Chernetsky and Air playing defense. That is not his natural spot. He's a center iceman. Meanwhile, from the right side, toe drag and a shot by Schwartz. He's robbed. Great blocker save from Albin Boya. And we'll step aside with 5:45 left to go in the third period. Maine clinging to a 2-goal lead over the Bobcats here on Nesson. Well, don't forget, fans, Bobcat Challenge coming your way on the 21st. That is Tuesday. The QR code for you to get set up for your donation is there now. So whip out your smartphones, as Dan likes to say. If you don't know what that's all about, ask your kid at home. Basically, if you're over 10, you should know what you're doing with a QR code.
Should be good. You just never know.
Well, Chernetsky and Air's back at center. He will take the face-off here. And Maine wins control. Sword with it on the left side. 5:35 to play, and the Bobcats have to find a way to get more pucks on net against the dynamic Albin Boya, who has stopped. Well, he has stopped 29 of 31 shots in this game. Meanwhile, here comes Verreau. Chernetsky in Air. Dumps it in. Langlois there first, ahead of Tyler Borgula. And cleared out as Sword will go back for it. Well, 2-goal game. You know, Ram Pecknold's thinking about when to pull Marinoff.
We're right around that range. I was thinking the same thing after that TV timeout if he'd consider it, but I feel like we're one, maybe two more offensive zone starts from the goaltender being pulled.
Yeah, he pulls, and it's in the analytics. He pulls goaltenders earlier than any other coach you're really going to see, although the trend has started to kind of go in his direction in the last few years. Coaches are becoming a little bit more aggressive with that. Meanwhile, a chance. Oh, what a stop! Lipinski robbed by a brilliant save from Marinoff.
Boy, and he tried to go back against the grain as well, tried to go towards that blocker side. I'm not sure what part of Marinoff caught that puck, but it was enough to make the save.
Well, keeps it a 4-2 game with under 4.5 to play. Thomas Friel, some good zone time from the Black Bears. Now Marcus looking to feather it in front. It was off of Sword. Wittenbach able to come away with it. Is there much here for this offensive group after having to defend their zone a bit? Wilmer circling around, makes a nice move, finds an open Vidicek. Vidicek 1 goal tonight, tried to get it out in front, and he was shouldered away from the puck. Tried to drop that shoulder, couldn't get the second gear, and now Leddy with it back in his own zone. Long pass ahead, Officer Bone. Wilmer never came up to touch the puck. Komarov turns back the other way and has his pocket picked by Quinnipiac's assistant captain Charlie Leddy, as now Wilmer waiting on it. Wilmer slowed up a bit, turns it over. Here's Josh Nadeau. Nadeau waiting, drop pass there. And that one comes off the stick of Poirier, who looked a little bit gassed in that moment. Here come the Cats. Wilmer to the slot. Stop blocked in front. Still loose by the edge of the circle. Where's that puck? Serbone's got it. Try to backhand out in front. And Serbone's still there. Now to Gronwald. Waiting. Finding Leddy. Throws it in front. No one home. Back to Serbone. Creeping out is Marinoff with 3:10 to play. He's waiting for the sign, and here he comes to the bench for the extra man. Verreau and Pelosi hop over the boards. It's a 6-on-5. Backdoor Verreau looking in front. Oh, what a big sliding block by Motu. Back to the point. Big drive from Gronwald, way off the mark. Now Leddy to Verreau. Back around. Marcellus waiting. Met by Chabrier. Marcellus there with 2:45 to play. Now Pelosi to the forehand. Leddy with a rocket save made. Rebound, Gronwald, they score! Elliot Gronwald has made it a 1-goal game with 2:39 to go.
Phil, this is a heads-up play by Gronwald to read this shot off the back wall. So this starts with the one-timer from Leddy, which misses the net, but you can see how up on the play Gronwald is. It's an all-or-nothing play, because if he gets beat, nobody is back on defense, but he's following that shot off the back wall. It's a one-timer looking away from the net off his back foot. A tremendous play by the defender to find that puck, turn and shoot all in one motion, and a heads-up play nonetheless to find that puck off the end wall. As for the time being, the Bobcats have made it a 1-goal game, as I believe Maine has now challenged this goal.
And let's see, what are they exactly challenging is my question.
Well, Boya was down on his backside after the goal. Let's take a look at the overhead and see if there's any contact of any kind. We're trying to get you a clear view.
Well, he has no stick.
Right.
But by the time he's touched, the puck's in the back of the net.
Yeah, and the stick is of his own volition. I'm pretty sure he goes all out to try to make the save, as a goalie is wont to do.
Yeah, and you could see the puck in the back of the net, and there's not a Bobcat near him. So I think this might be quick.
Unless there is an offsides call that was far before any of that happens.
That could be what they're looking at. It's not the overhead. It's not that moment, because clearly there's not a Bobcat near him. So now it's an instance of there being an offside, and they think it is. So at least that's what we're hearing from some folks down in press row. And if that's the case, that goal won't count. But we'll see. But that would be a bit earlier in the sequence. If it still counts, it's Gronwald from Leddy and Pelosi. But we'll see if they count it. It may not. And that would be a huge backbreaker for this team late in the third period.
Oh, no question about that, Phil. You're absolutely right. And the fact that now with 2:39 left, the difference between 4-3 and 4-2 is monumental at this point. It completely changes your strategy and how you go about the next 2.5 minutes. So, again, yeah, it's something that was not evident on the goal itself. It would have had to be pretty far back in play, as the Bobcats had extended zone time. Even going back to when they pulled Marinoff, they sent 2 players off the boards at once to go 6-on-5, but that was with the puck steadily in the zone as far as I can remember.
Now the question is, do they find it? That's the other thing, too. You got to, like you said, you got to go back a little bit. Are they going to find that moment? If there was a Bobcat offside, where was he offside? But it looks like Sam Scopa, who is actually that's still Dylan Silverstein, the number 2 netminder, right by the door. And it looks like they're about to open it for the officials, and they come out. It's a good goal. So a lengthy review initiated by the Maine coaching staff and Ben Barr. This one counts. Gronwald is first from Letty and Pelosi, and the Bobcats have life late in this third period.
Well, whatever it was, Phil, it was either extremely close or, to your point, they couldn't find it. But with any review, you have to have irrefutable evidence in order to overturn. It was a goal call on the ice. So in that case, the Bobcats are able to hang on. So already off this faceoff, Phil, Marinov is in the slot, ready to come off the ice if the Bobcats gain control off the faceoff.
Marcellus, Serbone, Schwartz, Wilmer. So the four forwards joined by Gilson. And meanwhile, Ryan Knapp talking with Joe Carasone, one of the referees. And now he comes over to say something to Stephen Drain, and then we're just having some words with the scoring table. Big face-off at center. Bobcats win it. Here's Wilmer. Wilmer flips it ahead. Serbone shovels it in. Boya fell out of the net. Loose puck in front. Quick shot save made. Oh, what a stop by Boya. Russell's got it. Firing toward the empty net, and that'll be icing. Goodness gracious. We talked about it tonight, Dan. In that left-hand zone particularly, players flipping and flopping all over the ice, and that time it was Boya.
Yeah, it's kind of remarkable to see. So as you mentioned earlier, this is period 6 on the ice here today. It was roughly a 60-degree day. It's cold in the building, but again, once you have players carving it up for 6 total periods, you're going to jump around a little bit. Quick look, that was right after Boya was able to regain his footing. That one was knocked in front. He made the save, and then the clearing attempt goes wide, but whew, a near miss on both sides.
Marcellus on the faceoff wins it from Scholey. There's Jeremy Wilmer. Angles it off for Schwartz. Back to the point for Gilson, and now for Schwartz on the left side. Bodies in front. Shot was blocked by Jurasevich. And out of play it goes. The Bobcats on the power play 1 for 3 in this game. And essentially you have a power play to try to wrap this game up if they can keep the puck in the offensive zone throughout. Max Scott's going to come in now, the junior for Maine, to take the face-off against Marcellus. Scott, 8 of 18 on draws against Marcellus, who has won all 8 of his face-offs, make it 9. Gilson with it center point to the half boards for Schwartz. Schwartz waiting, finding Gilson, the RPI transfer. Schwartz fires in, save made loose in front, bodies everywhere near Boya, and that one somehow kept out. High slot Gilson to the left circle. Wilmer scores! Jeremy Wilmer! And it's all tied up at 4.
Well, this series between the Bobcats and the Black Bears never fails to disappoint. After a near miss in front of the net, quick puck movement by the Bobcats up to the top of the point to Gilson, then over to Wilmer. This thing is just getting on net. You're trying to feed it through traffic, but you can see 2 members of the Black Bears there might have taken a quick deflection as it went its way past Boya. This is just a seeing eye shot there from Wilmer. You can see the initial attempt. Boya's without his stick. The puck's still loose. It gets up top, and then it's a shot by Wilmer with traffic in front of him. And this game is even at 4.
The Bobcats have made up a 3-goal deficit. They were down 4-1 after the breakaway by Thomas Friel. And a whistle stoppage for an offside. Will bring it back to the left of the center red. 1 minute, 37 seconds to go. And this sold-out crowd on their feet here at the M&T Bank Arena. Home game number 1, and this one is not disappointing.
If that sets the bar for the 25-26 campaign here at M&T Bank Arena, Phil, fans are in for something special, that's for sure.
Russell had it poke checked away. Bodie Nobes keeps it in at the line. Minute 20 to go in the third. Maine would love to find a way to get one back. There's a drive by Langlois, way off the mark. Had a lot of mustard on it. Now down to 70 seconds. Great clear by the Bobcats. That will not be an icing, as Borgula trying to shake it away from Lipinski. Now here is Langlois. Over and shoveled in by Fowler. Left behind the goal. Gronwald to add one of those 2 extra attacker tallies. Ahead for Marcellus. Hammers Jurasevich. Took it away. Pelosi cutting to the net. And that one deflected away by Scott. He finds Nadeau. Through center. Gronwald with a good stick. Gilson in with 40 seconds to go. Back to Schwartz. Here comes Aaron Schwartz, lobs that high in the air. Bouncing puck, Marcellus couldn't settle it. And it's kicked back to Gilson, who had the primary helper on the goal by Wilmer. Again, lobbed high in the air and deep. 25 seconds to play in the third period. It is a 4-4 game. Aaron Schwartz got the second assist on that goal. And icing is called on Maine with 17.9 to play.
Would have to imagine, Phil, there might be a timeout used somewhere. I believe at least Quinnipiac still has it in their pocket, as Ben Barr had just challenged for a potential offsides, a goal a couple moments ago. But they'll take the face-off as stated. Have some tired Maine Black Bears out there on the defensive end. Face-off huge here.
Vidicek wins it. Serbone, oh, he had room on that far post side. Never got it on goal. It looked like Boyer was screened. Down to 10. Letty. Here's Sword. Sword, a shot. Blocked in front with 6. Wilmer in the corner. Lets it drop behind. Down to 3. To the point. Sword fires, and we are going to overtime. A wild finish to regulation here at the M&T Bank Arena. And after 60 minutes of play, it'll be decided by 3-on-3. When we come back after this, we're tied at 4 on Nesson. Back here on Nelson, a wild third period for the Quinnipiac Bobcats. They were down 4-1 in the second period. They trailed 3-0 down after 20 minutes of play. Maine scored back-to-back goals at 17:51 and 18:49 of the first. But it was Wittenbach 14 seconds into the second period, a power play goal. That got them started. Thomas Friel made it 4-1 on a breakaway, but it's been all Bobcats ever since.
And even still, you know, it was 4-2 kind of coming down the stretch in the third period, but you roll the dice, you pull the goaltender, and you're able to get this game tied. But the Bobcats, Phil, rode a 25-11 shot advantage between the second and the third period. So they were able to gain some momentum back through volume shooting. Maine wasn't quite able to keep up their same pace that they had coming out blitzing the Bobcats in the first period. This has been a great game. This is a game early on between two ranked teams that if you said this is a matchup that you could see in a March or April series on down the line, I don't think any fan base would be overly surprised to see that.
First overtime game for both teams this season, 3-on-3 for 5 minutes. Now, the elephant in the room if you're the Bobcats, turnovers were an issue early in this game for Quinnipiac. When you have 3-on-3, puck possession is huge, and you can't afford to miss the net on a shot, and you can't afford any giveaways.
Absolutely, and every line change is crucial. Every pass, especially what you remarked about a little bit, the drop passes and the no-look passes that were kind of plaguing the Bobcats in the early part of the game. You can't get away with those against a very deep offense in Maine. So every detail has to be accounted for here in this 3-on-3. And you wonder, it only being early October, how much have you practiced these 3-on-3 systems? We'll find that out beginning here.
Marcellus, Serbone, and Gronwald for the Bobcats. Scott, Nadeau, and Holt for the Black Bears. And the crowd is into it. And Marcellus controls the faceoff. He has been brilliant on draws tonight, 10 for 10. Quinnipiac in faceoffs, plus 13 in this game. Here comes Gronwald. Drops it back. Marcellus carries it across. Now on the tape for Serbone. Serbone to the forehand. Pushed just wide. He had a great move. And now Serbone's got to hustle back and get that puck ahead of Nadeau, and he does. Giving it over to Gronwald 30 seconds into overtime. These two teams will play again tomorrow. You can check GoBobcats.com to find a ticket if they're out there. Gronwald across the line for the trailing Marcellus. And in overtime, when you have 3-on-3, you'll see both teams do this. They'll move it all the way back into their zone and then bring it forward again. That allows, at least in the moment, Scott to get off. Here is Marcellus cutting to the forehand. Marcellus looks to bring it back out again for Graham Swart.
You're looking for the exact right look on your zone entry, Phil. And if you don't have it, you saw Marcellus twice there. If you don't have the look, take it back, try again.
Meanwhile, Wilmer has good speed. The Long Island native finds Chris Pelosi back at the point. Now chips it across over to Wilmer. Over for Sword at the point. And he will recollect out at center ice against the pressuring Nadeau. And back to Wilmer. Josh Nadeau will come off. 90 seconds played in overtime. Here's Aaron Schwartz. No one scores. This ends up being a tie, even if they decide to do a shootout. Here is Schwartz, and that would just be for the fans. Meanwhile, behind the net, it's Jeremy Wilmer to Will Gilson, who connected with him on the game-tying goal late in the third period. Gilson pressured hard by Scholey, coming over is Holt, and a takeaway for Maine. Here come the Black Bears on the offensive for the first time in overtime. Owen Fowler in across the line. Fowler drops it to the backhand and keeps possession with 2:50 to go. Still with it is Fowler, facing Gilson, who forces him to retreat, and now back to Langlois. Up ice, now Lipinski. Jaden Lipinski angles in across the line, got around Antonin Bonneau. Over now to Gilson, a takeaway for the Bobcats. Back to Schwartz. And a big round of applause from this Bobcat faithful with 2:25 left in overtime.
That's about 2 minutes worth of possession for the Bobcats and about 30 for the Black Bears before Quinnipiac gets it back and heads through the neutral zone.
And now Marcellus blazing his way across the line to the point for Gronwald, who had the fourth Quinnipiac goal. Or third, rather. Gives to Marcellus. Marcellus moving left. Well, the goaltenders have been bored here in overtime. Little give and go, broken up. Marcus looking for Lipinski. A great back check as Gronwald was able to slow things up a bit, preventing a potential 2-on-1. Now it is Langlois. Over to Marcus. The Nashville pick drops it back to Langlois. Marcus with 1:45 to go. Nearly lost it. Gets it back away from Serbone. Dropped that off. Nobody home, and Langlois got to go all the way back into the Maine Black Bears zone. Long pass ahead. Max Scott's got it, and now gives over to Langlois. On the tape, with speed, Josh Nadeau waiting for help. Could not get around. Cross-ice pass for Scott with 1:25 to go. Back to Nadeau. Spinorama shakes off Serbone. Nadeau tied up by Serbone. And to the line for Chabrier. He has an overtime winner against the Bobcats. Thought about letting one go. Still with it. And I'm sure he remembered that moment from 2 seasons ago here at the M&T Bank Arena. Chabrier along the corner, 1 minute to go in overtime. Chabrier creating time and space. The shot's blocked, and Serbone's able to take it away. To Marcellus, who is gassed, snaps that back. Sward's got to retreat. And Wilmer with Pelosi come back on the ice here in the final 45 of overtime.
That change came just in the nick of time, Phil. Serbone especially had been out there for a while.
Wilmer turns on the Jets, goes around Fowler. Wilmer, drop pass. It sits there. Wilmer shoots. Boy, the save. Fowler's got it back. Wilmer tracks it down from behind the goal. Over to Gilson. Eyeballs the net. Shot stopped by Boya. 20 seconds left in overtime. Wilmer knocked down by Holt. And he's able to get away from the smaller Bobcat. And here comes Holt. Holt trying to create numbers. Holt drops it off. There's a shot. Blocked in front. It's going to be a chance. Bobcats with a breakaway. Here's Verreau in for the win. Stopped by Boya. 1 second to go, and this one ends in a tie.
What a way to end what has become an instant classic between these two teams. 3-on-2 the other way. The one fresh player on the ice is the player with the puck on his stick. Verreau came on the ice, changing for Wilmer. Stick handling, tries to go blocker side, but Boya calm as ever. Able to meet him right there. Not much of a move to speak of there by Verreau. He was trying to lull Boya to sleep and get that shot away. Nationally speaking, Phil, as you mentioned, for the sake of the rankings and the NPI, this will go down as a tie, but doesn't look like we're done quite yet.
Here comes the skills competition. Got a shootout. Now, in ECAC play, you have the shootout because it does matter in the standings. It doesn't do anything for NPI per se. It's still a tie. But when you get into conference play, shootouts, they count as wins, and you don't get the same 3 points, but they will dry cut this ice with the pair of Zambonis out there, and we will see a shootout. So, because of that and because you have the shootout, good to get that going at this point of the season, just to get a sense of what you got.
Absolutely. And I mean, if we're looking at this the case of the home team, Phil, I mean, you're facing probably the odds-on favorite, if not a top 3 favorite for a goaltender of the year in Albin Boya, and you'll see him again for 3 periods, if not more, tomorrow. So it is truly the best test in college hockey that you can get in terms of this shootout. But this has been a lot of fun to watch between these two teams, and I think you have two teams that are in interesting positions where you're trying to kind of put together your depth scoring on the fly. You have Maine, who is running 4 lines pretty consistently and just trying to beat you with speed and pace, and the Bobcats went heavy with that top line of Vidicek, Wilmer, and Serbonin. We're kind of mixing and matching their second, third, and fourth lines, but you saw things that you like. The Bobcats certainly looking to clean up the turnovers a bit. I think for Maine, you're looking to sustain that pressure for 60 minutes. The offensive pressure definitely didn't match first, second, and third, but two very good teams and a very fun hockey game here in Hamden.
Indeed, and if you're a Bobcat fan, you're looking back at some of those early turnovers in the first period because, as you said, Dan, and rightfully so, the final 40 minutes, just the dramatic number of offensive opportunities that the Bobcats had in this game. And, what ended up being a 4-4 tie, if you're not Albin Boya in the net for the Maine Black Bears, Quinnipiac perhaps runs away with this game. They had a lot of really good chances, but Maine capitalized on the few chances they've gotten. And that's why they're looking at this as perhaps a little bit of a positive, getting the 4-4 tie, but then you give up a 3-goal lead. Certainly not something Ben Bard's going to be excited about.
And that's kind of the point there. You got positives that you can point to on the tape. And again, there's another game tomorrow, but positives and negatives. And I think Maine jumping from Holy Cross to then playing the Bobcats, while Quinnipiac started their season, right into the fire with Boston College. Both programs have seen some different kind of challenges, but the newest challenge in front of them, Phil, a shootout. The Bobcats go first. Jeremy Wilmer over the boards.
Wilmer, the Long Island native, had the game-tying goal in the waning moments of the third period. He gets a standing round of applause from the faithful here at the M&T Bank Arena. 2 goals on the season, first shootout attempt for the senior co-captain. Inches in and denied. A good blocker save by Boya. He's going to be a tough nut to crack here in the shootout.
Well, that was Wilmer picking on that same blocker side there by Boya. I wasn't sure if it was stick or post, or stick or puck. I thought I heard a little bit of post right there at the end, but either way, Maine will now shoot.
Well, Sully Sholey's going to have a go at it, the Chaska, Minnesota native, and hearing a round chorus of boos to the backhand. Oh, and he's robbed. What a glove save by Marinoff. My gosh, and he waited and waited before dropping that puck. You weren't quite sure.
It's like when you rob a home run. You can't just show it to the crowd right off the bat. Another quick look at this one. Forehand to the backhand and a little bit of showmanship, but a 10-beller out of Marinov.
And from one Long Islander to another, here is Ethan Wittenbach. Sneaks in. Oh, what a goal! Slow rolled into the forehand, and the Cats are on the board in the shootout.
Wow, that was silky out of the ECAC Rookie of the Week. Slow and steady as ever. It's a forehand, a backhand, you sell it, and right back to the forehand, and you slam it past the pad.
Max Scott now, the Brown transfer. Inching in, looks to win with a shot, does not beat Marinoff. Now the Bobcats here can take it. Here in round number 3, it's going to be Vidicek.
Well, you sell the same move that you just saw from Sholey. That's what Scott was trying to do, and he tried to force it back to the 5-hole before Marinov could adjust. No good. Bobcats have a chance.
Vidicek, the Montreal native, with a goal today. Coming in with speed from the right side. Quick shot, missed the net. Tried to find the corner. A little bit of a different look than what Wittenbach gave to Albin Boya, and now Maine's going to look to tie the shootout. It is Nadeau trying to keep this one going. Josh Nadeau. I haven't heard boos like this here in a long time. Nadeau robbed, a big save by Matej Marinoff. He slams the door on all 3 Maine shooters. The Bobcats win the shootout challenge, and an exciting one here ends in a 4-4 tie.
Well, a little showmanship at the end, Phil, there to send the fans here in Hamden home happy. A great battle on both sides, two very talented teams, and just imagine this is the first of two this weekend between these two non-conference foes. Good battle back there by the Bobcats in the final two periods. Lots of positive momentum to build on from those last two, but Maine, you know they're coming back hungry after a tie and then a shootout loss when they play again tomorrow.
Oh, that's the best part of it. They're going to do it again tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. You don't have to wait until evening. 4 o'clock, you're going to sit in front and watch us on ESPN+. And before that, you're going to join us on ESPN+. Dan and I have the women's game, the Bobcats at Northeastern at 1 o'clock here on Bobcat Weekend. An exciting game here on Nesson at the M&T Bank Arena. Again, it ended in a 4-4 tie. Normally, ties are not something to get all that excited about, but this one certainly was a lot of fun. As we wrap it up here from Hamden, Connecticut, we'll be back with you tomorrow for the entire crew, including our producer, Jimmy McDonald, and my partner, Dan Ball. I'm Phil Jubileo saying so long from the M&T Bank Arena. You've been watching Quinnipiac University Hockey on Nesson. Good night, everybody.